coming to you live here from Alte Danube, otherwise known as the Old Danube. It's an oxbow lake of the Danube in Vienna, Austria, or Vienna, as I prefer to call it, situated towards the northeast of the new Danube. It is a remnant of the river's former course, now separated from the mainstream and the new Danube. What is up, everybody? We are here today with episode number 38. Oh, wait, this looks confusing now. 38 of the... Maybe this? No, that doesn't help. It's episode 38 of the PondCast, your dose of...
Of the PondCast?
Episode 37 of the PondCast. This is much more fitting because it's much more fitting there. I am, of course, as usual, your host, Yaku of the Zaku. With me today is la almeja voladora a la que se le permite comer jamón, like _VIP. And as per usual, we are joined, produced, and fact-checked by Indoctor Ognia Kitore Moje Zastapich Vele Opon Kuro 60 Squats and Zeki. How y'all doing today?
What's up, Yaku? What's up? We are here. We are back once again with another PondCast. Always happy to be here with you, Yaku. And we are here to catch up with the news of the week, with the news of StarCraft 2.
Indeed, a little bit lighter when it comes to news this week, a little bit lighter when it comes to all of the results to go over as well, to report, which I'm going to be honest, I'm surprised. I know we've been saying for the past 2 months, March should be a little bit lighter. I never believed it for a second, but you know what? This week, at the very least, yeah, we are going to have, we are going to be a little bit leaner when it comes to those reports and when it comes to things that have transpired.
Yeah, exactly. We should be, at least. I mean, again, last week we had a very long episode because of the TLMC, going through all the maps and going through all of the upcoming potential maps for the new upcoming map contest. We'll be going over the results of the most recent events towards the end of the broadcast, but before that, it is time for that weekly GLHF interview.
Yes, indeed. This week, going to be jumping back a little bit to a Homestar Cup interview that was conducted just a couple of months ago. This time, a very fitting one, I would say, as his subathon is still ongoing. Up a Tree Zelda is going to be the one. Well, I say that, but also, adjacent to him, the Windraker race has also concluded, I believe. So, yeah, very fitting timing, I think, for this interview to be released.
Yes, exactly. He's been going on for a full month, even more than that when it comes to his subathon. It's crazy how much support he's gotten and how hard he's going with that. So shout out to Sal, of course. And pleasantly surprised to see that he was at Home Story Cup and Zumbergod was able to get an interview with as many people as possible, Sal included.
Indeed, and oh boy, this one in particular, it struck me as a bit of a trip down memory lane, kind of similar to the Yon Blue interview, where they were both kind of giving things from more of a fan perspective as opposed to a behind the scenes or a professional player perspective. It was a bit more the fan perspective, but of course the big difference here is Upper Tree Zelda is quite a bit older. And so he's been here from the very beginning and has been watching the esports side of things from the very beginning of at least StarCraft 2.
Yeah, and that did benefit the interview overall. If you remember, one of our critiques about the Eon Blue one was that it didn't feel too structured, and Eon Blue was mainly just asked his opinion on specific players. Here, there was a little bit more of a discussion, more of a back and forth when it comes to some of the patches, one of the different eras of StarCraft. So overall, I do think that this was a better conducted interview. I think it was quite good. Quickly, before we dive into the interview itself, did notice that once again we are back to, it feels like AI generated subtitles, because there are often some
SE2,
some mistranslated subtitles, or just the wrong word, or just the wrong mistranscribed. Like, so there are definitely errors when it comes to subtitles. Just bear that in mind when you jump into it. But regardless, overall the interview was pretty well conducted.
Yeah, it flowed very naturally, I would say,
Yeah.
compared to some in the past.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure, for sure. We were able to hear Sal's early days when it came to getting introduced to StarCraft, playing StarCraft for the first time, even his brief stint when it came to Brood War. He was able to, yeah, talk about his own experiences. I think we briefly spoke about it, but for the first time, they delved into it a little bit further when it comes to watching GSL back in the day. Sal, he was regaling with, the old GOM TV player and the quality of the VODs back then as well, and how much more difficult it was to watch GSL, especially in the early days.
Yeah, and especially again because this is coming more from a fan perspective. I think previously we had somebody like Tasteless go into it a little bit, but obviously
Hmm.
he was one of the people who was actually casting GSL at the time
Hmm.
and didn't really need to pay for that GOM TV subscription and things like that. So yeah, it's really cool to
Hmm.
hear from the other perspective in this regard.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely,
It
definitely. And for, oh, go on.
No, I was just gonna say. I also think when he was mentioning how he got into the esports side of things, it felt like it was something that resonated with me specifically. Obviously, I came in quite a bit later, but
Mhm.
when he mentioned that he didn't really have much of an interest in the esports until he started watching and following the streamers who, would talk
Mhm.
about them, and chat would also talk about recent tournaments that took place, recent results that happened, and so after a while, starting to feel like, oh, this seems kind of interesting, or oh, I should keep up to date with these, just so I'm
Mhm.
not completely lost when I'm in these streams. It's literally exactly what happened to me. I wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily interested in keeping up with everything that was going on at the time. This would have been around 2016, 2017. Yeah, I think around 2016 until somebody by the name of Light VIP and somebody else by the name of 16 Squats and Seki, and also a few other people started talking about GSL and things that were going on during Crank stream, and I was like, what is all this?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's something. I mean, you mentioned earlier, right? How this was a little bit more of a nostalgia trip in many, many different ways. I think what I appreciated about this interview was that it was talking about that experience, right? Talking about all the streamers back in the day and watching everyone, watching all the tournaments, taking part in a lot of the tournaments as well. And I do feel like that's something that we're kind of missing right now. Now that I think about it, a lot of the streamers that he mentioned, they're not streaming anymore. Sal still streams, don't get me wrong, but even
Hmm.
he, if you recall, like one of the big reasons why he's doing a subathon is because he's going to be changing his content style after the
Yep.
subathon ends, and he isn't going to be streaming as regularly. And it feels like we've lost a lot of the more regular content creator, or I should say streamers, over the years. We still have a lot of YouTubers, like don't get me, like YouTube is
Hmm.
really big right now when it comes to that form of content, but when it comes to streamers, it feels like maybe a little bit less so.
Yeah, I feel like in the early days there was definitely a big difference between the people who are specifically streamers and the people who are pro players who would, and then
Mm.
you had the pro players who sometimes streamed at that point. But starting a couple of years ago, it felt like there really wasn't that big of a difference. It felt like if you were streaming and if you were high level as a streamer, you were also competing quite a bit, and also vice versa. If you had a lot of pro players who were also streaming, and funnily enough, actually made more money from streaming. People like players like Hero Marine who did pretty well for himself when it came to placing in tournaments. But with how top heavy everything is,
Mhm.
it was much more reliable to just also stream on the side, or not even
Yeah,
stream on the
yeah.
side. It's like stream as much as you were practicing.
Yeah, yeah, and we still get like some some Hearthstone streams, some Lambo streams, some Hero Marine streams. But as you mentioned, like a lot of them are pro players that that they try to stream on the side to help supplement. Nowadays, like who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of like M Canning. Like M Canning, he's
Yeah.
not streaming anywhere near as often as he used to. Lag TV, right? It's like he stopped streaming as well. I'm thinking Nathanius. Nathanius, he doesn't stream anymore
Mm-hmm.
either. There's I feel like a lot of
Cats.
these yeah, Cats, he doesn't stream either. He used to stream daily. Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
used to have a proper schedule and he doesn't stream anymore either. We still have a couple, don't get me wrong. I think like what comes to mind is like Neuro. Like he's still very
Neuro.
consistent, for
Vibe.
example.
Does Vibe? Yeah, I think Vibe has
Vibe,
been on and
yeah,
off.
he play yeah, yeah. I mean he's mixes it between other games, right? He plays other games as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
Nowadays he's more of a variety streamer. He's less dedicated to StarCraft. So yeah, it does feel very nostalgic because it's like, oh yeah, like this used to be more of a thing, more so than it is now. I think most recently we had Sort of, who was very dedicated for a couple of months, but again, recently is
Yeah,
mixing in like AoE4 as well.
yeah, it's god dang meta. It's getting to a lot of people. And I think that's usually
True,
what
true.
that's usually how it goes typically, right? Where you have a big reason why a lot of people have transitioned from being StarCraft 2 specific streamers to being more variety streamers is because just whether it's the meta, whether it's a patch, or whether it's even just matchmaking in general, like the in-game algorithm for matchmaking and how it can take a while to get how it can take a while to find a match when you're at a certain level. I think Jason actually talked
Mm,
about this a little bit, where
yeah.
he mentioned that in North America, when you get to a certain like high masses level, it
Mhm.
can take a while to find a match when you're streaming and when you're laddering, and then on top of that, because of how jumbled together the different servers are in NA, you might end up waiting like 5 minutes to get a game with 300 ping or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's a big disincentive, right, for those high level streamers to start to look at other games or look at other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool to hear from that perspective from Sal from the early days. He was talking about playing and signing up for tournaments as well, talking about certain metas, certain openings, his favorite players. I think things got a little bit more interesting when they brought up the region lock.
Hmm.
And when he was able to elaborate a little bit on his thoughts. This is something that we've been, I think, I want to say that at least I remember a couple months ago talking about this specifically. And it's a little bit bittersweet because now it feels a little bit too late to do anything. But the idea of the region lock and how it did benefit a lot of the regions very much so. But when everything went online, that was kind of abolished in a way. Specifically, he was
Yeah.
talking about the ESL Open Cups. And the
Yep.
problem is that there's a pseudo region lock in the ESL Open Cups. Basically, it's very rare to have Koreans play in the European Open Cups because of the time and because of the ping. So the European Open Cup
And vice
is
versa.
usually yeah, exactly. So the European Open Cup is usually solely European. Korean Open Cup is usually solely Korean, and the NA Open Cup is flooded by both regions. And the NA players they feel like suffocated and they can't compete, they can't play
Yeah.
because all
What?
the other regions are coming in and kind of like taking that from them.
Yeah, it's like, when was the last time an NA player or an Americas player in general
Hmm.
won an ESL Open Cup at America? It was towards the end of that tournament. It was always Hero, Dark, Clem. Oh,
Max.
yeah, Clem, Max Facts. I'm
It-
trying to fact check myself here from memory. I was like, wait, did Clem
They were the
stay up? And I was
Degens.
like, oh wait, yeah, they
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah.
DJs. 100%
Yep,
they played
yep.
in those. Yeah, it was always
Yeah,
like
yep.
Hero, Dark, Clem, Max Facts, Bjorn,
Hmm. Hmm.
who were the
Yep.
ones who were winning ESL Open Cup NA. And every now and then, I think you would see somebody like Vindicta or somebody like Future make it
Trigger.
to the semifinals. Trigger, yeah, Trigger make it to the semifinals to the finals, but then it was pretty rare.
Yeah, I mean, you say like this is recently, but like from the beginning, right? It was always like
Right,
Zest, right?
true.
Zest,
Zest
Rogue,
playing
like
the DGen,
yeah,
yeah.
Zound, like they'd all play in like the. I mean, you say DJ, this is morning for them, right? For the
Well, they
Koreans, for
stayed
the
up all
NA
night to
rookies.
play in it, so
True, true. But yeah, like they'd be able to. Well, that was the case, and I remember there was someone in our Twitch chat like asking about the NA region and how to help it, and I was bringing that up how like unfortunately like
I
there was nothing to keep them playing, nothing to
yeah
keep them competing, and now it feels a little bit late
the
to implement that region lock after all these players had already retired. Not saying that that won't benefit the scene now if that were to happen, but the problem is that
it
it feels like that should have happened
they
from the
missed the
beginning.
boat.
Hmm.
If we were to implement a hard region lock for the NA region right now, it feels like going into it feels like going
Mhm.
into a rowboat or like a small boat, right? Compared to when this
Mhm.
was originally implemented back in the day, when it did
Yeah.
feel like a proper system and a proper ship to be leaving. And
Mhm.
it's something that if you were to look at it right now, if you
Mhm.
I'm 100% biased if you were to ask me, should we implement a region lock or should we implement tournaments solely for the North American region? Should ESL or the Esports World Cup implement something specifically for the North American region and specifically for players who are either citizens or at least residents of NA? I would 100% say yes, you absolutely should.
Mhm.
But obviously, as you were mentioning, it does feel like a lot of players have now kind of retired, partially
Mhm.
because of this. So it feels like a little bit of a chicken and egg scenario. Well, if you ask me, it's not a chicken and egg scenario, but that's what it kind of looks
Mhm.
like, right? If you were an investor, if you were to try to come
Mhm.
up with a region lock, or if you were trying to decide whether or not to implement a region lock, that's how it kind of looks like to them.
Ex- yeah, and it's just a really hard position to be in. Like I don't blame ESL for not region locking the Open Cups or the weeklies. It makes sense if they want
Mhm.
maximum signups and if they want maximum viewership as well, because the reality is I'm sure a lot more people watching them because the reality is the ESL Americas turned into one of my favorite things to watch because it was EU versus Korea, right? Like it
Exactly,
was
yeah.
Clem, Max Pax, the DGen Europeans that would stay up, and then the Koreans that would wake up early and they'd face off against each other, and it was a really
Well,
fun staging ground for that. But like it's not the it shouldn't be that wasn't the point of the weekly, right? The point of the weekly
yeah,
was to help facilitate the NA scene, not having the other regions face off against each other, right?
exactly. Also, don't think I didn't see what you did there, trying to imply that the Koreans were degens also, but
There was like Beyond who would play in all three. True, like there were a couple of them,
but
but yeah.
but yeah, what you're saying is 100% correct, right? Where again, it goes back to from the perspective of ESL. If we were to hard region lock all of these, if we were to say Asia only for Korean, Chinese, and the other Asian players,
Taiwan.
EU only for the EU players, yeah, NA or Americas only for the Americas player,
Mhm.
yeah, it's you might worry that there's not as much that aren't going to be as many signups just because the reality of the situation is NA overall was a little bit of a when it comes to the player when it comes to like the population of the player base and the amount of competitive players, then yeah, it's a little bit lighter compared to Asia and compared to EU. But also, that's kind of why you want to foster more.
Mhm.
But that's also arguably why you want to foster more competition. And I'm saying NA specifically, right? But if you were to remember, this was both NA and Latin America.
Yep.
That I 100% think that there wouldn't be a problem if you were to worry if signups were what you were worried about. I
Mhm.
100% think that it would have been fine. That you would have been fine, completely
Yeah,
fine,
yeah.
to have at least 16 and most likely even more players signing up for those weeklies. But again,
You said Yeah, you
that's
say
it.
16. We're talking about the beginning of the weeklies. I would say the Americas region is bigger than the European region. I would say there
Yeah,
would be more signups in the Americas, 100%, with like 100 plus signups each time. Remember, this is back when we had the Rebirth tournament where we had
exactly.
200
Yes,
signups from the Chilean region. Like that was crazy. From the just country of Chile.
yep.
But yeah, like back
Then you
then,
factor
I
in the
don't think.
Brazilian players, the Mexican players,
Yeah,
the US
yeah.
players.
There's so much. So back then, I don't think it was. I don't know if it was necessarily about the signups. I do think it might have been more viewership wise, or maybe they just didn't
Well,
think that it was necessary. Maybe they just
that's what. Yeah,
weren't thinking on that perspective. They're like, oh yeah, it's fine, just the Open Cups. They'll sort
that's
themselves out. Maybe they weren't really expecting them to be that weekly to be flooded by players from Korea and players from Europe.
yeah, that's what I think it was. It probably was as well, right? Because
Mhm.
you also have to remember that with the ESL Open Cups, it wasn't. It was also they were also offering what's it called?
EPT points.
EPT points. Yeah, EPT points
Yeah, yeah.
to the winners as well. So they were probably
Hmm.
thinking that yeah, we if we are gonna make it so that we have this incentive, then it doesn't really make sense to implement a hard region lock in that way, right? So if players really do feel like they need that boost, then we shouldn't bar them, right? We should be allowing them to accumulate as many as they can. But again, it's like
I would almost say the opposite because of the EPT points that were being provided, it incentivized players from other regions to play, or as
well,
you're
yeah,
saying,
that's the
to
thing,
play in
right?
all of them, right?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like
the
that.
thing that
That's
I'm
what it.
saying.
Yeah.
That's I think was the perspective, right? If
Mhm.
did incentivize players. It did incentivize players to play in all of them, and I think that's kind of what they were going for.
Yeah, and then in the end, that hurt the weekly, right? Because then, if that's the goal, then they were successful. But if the goal is to help support a region, which I would assume maybe that probably that wasn't the goal, but maybe it should have been the goal, then that's where they failed. And yeah, maybe it's something that we should have been pushing for earlier on as a community when it comes to being vocal about what this weekly should be. Because in the end, it ended up hurting the scene more than
Well,
anything.
maybe we should have been more vocal about that, but like you said, yeah,
Mhm.
the EU versus Korea matches on ESL Open Cup NA were some of the most interesting ones, and I think that's
Mhm.
part of the reason why a lot of people, myself included, weren't as vocal
No, yeah.
weren't as vocal at the time because they were some pretty good matches. It was good content, but
Yeah, for sure,
yeah,
for
in
sure.
hindsight, I think I agree with Sal and saying that yeah,
Mhm.
it should have been more of a hard region lock. In fact, as a matter of fact, I feel like at the time, if they did implement a hard region lock, I would have been one of the people who was like, "Is that necessary?" But obviously, with the benefit of hindsight, yeah, I think I
Yeah,
agree with Sal here.
yeah. Like now that we've seen what happened to the region, it's like, well, yeah, like it was like
Yeah,
very clearly
yeah,
this is something that needed to have happened. But yeah, so that's the unfortunate kind of reality that we're in at the moment. I guess it's important to talk about this just because looming with 2025,
Mhm.
we don't yet know what the circuit is going to look like, if it comes back, if the
If we have a
if
circuit,
the weeklies come back, and if they do, then this is something that's worth bringing up and worth kind of worth addressing with the potential kind of revamp of like the ESL weekly system if it were to return, right? So that's where like it would be applicable in a way to kind of like salvage what we have left. But yeah, so it was definitely interesting to hear that perspective. I think most people share the same perspective. I know that because we've heard from various interviews already. I know that Tasteless he was the one person that was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't regional lock, but his was more about Tasteless. He had the idea of just making Korea like the central mecca of esports and having everyone come there instead. Like he had his own ideas.
yeah,
But in general,
but
I think most people are on
yeah,
board that the regional is a
yeah.
positive thing.
Yeah, because I think from Tasteless' perspective, he was, or the way that Tasteless said about it was that, the infrastructure and the system, and like the yeah, the infrastructure, the processes, the system that already exists in Korea. We don't need to. It's either you export that elsewhere or you just have people come down. And yeah,
Mhm.
from Tasteless' perspective, it was a lot easier to have people come down, but obviously that's a position that not everyone's in.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
It's
Um,
no, I was just gonna say it's a rather privileged position to have, right? To say that, oh yeah, I'm gonna
mhm.
pack up everything and go to a foreign country and have go to a foreign country for like 6 months or whatever to play
Yeah,
in all these and to continue to train and whatnot.
for sure, for sure. They also kind of went into Legacy of the Void. It was fun hearing. Oh, before I get ahead of myself, it was
Hmm.
fun hearing Sal. I think it was asked about the Swarm host meta and Heart of the Swarm. I think Sal he brought up something important is that a lot of people they think negatively of Heart of the Swarm because they're like, oh, Swarm host, but he said that like he didn't have to worry about it because ZVT was still Ling Bane Muta because Swarm
Hmm.
hosts were only viable against like more mech styles and competitions, not against bio. So the ZVT meta was like untouched, and he was
Yeah,
happy with it.
and
It was like, yeah, it was
exactly. And
beautiful.
you know what? Here's my hot take: you play mech, you deserve to get swarm
true,
hosted.
true,
You play mech, you deserve everything coming to you. That's
true,
my hot
true.
take. So yeah, I'm with Sal on that one.
But it is a meta that mainly plays ZVP, so it turned into like Stormhost versus Skytoss, and it was definitely
Hmm.
not a good thing.
And,
But yeah, it is always
and
important to note that like there's a reason why Ling Bane Muta versus Bio was
mhm.
so thought fondly of for so long because it was a big prevalent part of Heart of the Swarm.
Because it was a big prevalent part of Heart of Swarm, and also because if you were watching Marine Marauder Medevac Mine versus Lingbane Muta, you knew
Mhm.
that you were safe from Swarm hosts at least for a little while.
You knew you were in for a good time,
Yeah,
at least until the next ZVP rolled around. True, true.
yeah.
But
So
yeah,
that
yeah, it was,
yeah, I don't quite remember if it was in this segment or if it was a little bit later down the line when they were talking more about the release of Legacy of the Void, but I do appreciate that they brought up in the Mothership Core, right? Talking about the Mothership Core
Mhm.
in Heart of Swarm. I think actually this was talked about a little bit earlier in the video, but regardless, they were talking about out a little bit, and I think I also kind of like how Sal kind of described a thought process, or not necessarily a thought process, but what felt like what was going on balance wise when it came to how to balance Protoss was they were focusing a bit more at the time and for quite a while on some gimmicks as opposed to actual more substantial changes like the recent energy overcharge that we had.
Mhm.
They felt very much like band-aids and gimmicks at the time.
Yeah, well, he emphasized that that even though something was really fun to use and something was really cool and something was really powerful, there's something that's more important when it comes to like balance, which is unit design, right? And the idea
Right.
of having a tank evac
Absolutely.
is really fun and really cool, but overall it goes against the like kind of almost like the philosophy of the unit itself and of the game state of the meta of the race and how it's meant to
Yeah.
work. And even though it's like it was a fun
When
idea and it led to a
it
lot of fun moments, like it necessarily
it
wasn't necessarily the best for the game.
yeah, it's one of those things, right, where the siege tank, it's meant to be a
Mhm.
slower unit. It's meant to be less mobile and kind of stays in the back line. You introduce tank evacs and you kind of get rid of that. It's
Mhm.
no longer a strong immobile unit. It's a strong unit that also has mobility.
Yeah, exactly. And ideally, you want like a pros and cons, right? You want a strength and a weakness to a unit to be able to counter it and have that back and forth. And that was kind of taken
Ah,
away, and that had
it
to be kind of like rethought out. Mhm.
overall, it was better for the game to remove tank evac specifically, since we're on this. Overall, it was better for both balance and for design, and when it
Uh-huh.
came to like unit and game design. But I'll never forget those moments, man, where you would plant your tank evacs on top of burrowed mines to bait
Uh-huh.
out Mutalisk. Oh, it was glorious. Those were
I think
those were a good couple of weeks
what I
before
mean,
certain
it was a
players
good
figured
couple of
it out.
months. Oh, true. But I think one of the reasons why it changed more than anything was probably because of how negatively it impacted TVT. Like TVT became
True.
awful.
Yeah.
TVT literally turned into whoever dropped first or who dropped like
Yeah.
who drops who first wins basically. Where you have
Yeah.
these line of you don't even have lines of tanks.
Mhm.
You have lines of medevacs with tanks in them, and everyone's like waiting to see who drops first to like get the first shot off and who can
Yeah.
engage who. Like it was
It
very different.
it was like you never saw Liberator made in that era of TVT,
Mhm.
and it's like, guys, we made this new unit for this scenario. Why aren't you using it? It's because you also gave us this option,
Yeah,
and it's a
yeah.
better option.
So there was
Yeah,
a
kind
lot
of
of dream
flew in the
drops,
face
a lot
of
of dream drops as well.
kind of flew in the face of the design philosophy of the Liberator
Hmm.
because of that.
For
Yeah.
sure, for sure, for sure. So yeah, I think it was fun that he was able to bring that up as well.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, something that I remember I wanted to bring this up. I think it was for
Yep.
uh the last interview, or maybe even the one before that. And I was
With
curious if it
MMA,
was ever going to be. Yeah, yeah, yes, yeah, with the
right? Because
with the
MMA
MMA
was
interview.
on, yeah,
He
was on
was
the
on
scene.
Spenu,
Yeah.
and it was never brought up. And and I thought they were gonna, for whatever reason, talk about it here. They were talking about like the live match fixing scandal. I think Zombie brought up how there was like a Kespa embezzlement like controversy at the time, which actually took place a couple of years later. I thought maybe she was talking about like what happened with Spenu, and I feel like it's a bit of a missed opportunity
Right.
because it was a pretty big deal. I'm pretty sure you were already watching StarCraft when Spenu got involved, if I'm not mistaken.
The final days of Sabenu, I think. Like
Mm.
the final days of Sabenu after their CEO got charged with like defrauding investors, if I remember correctly. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
afterwards, the company went bankrupt, and then yeah, stopped sponsoring the team.
yeah. Before that, the owner of Spinner was Sonic, and he was a big
Oh, I see.
investor of Brood War. He was a big investor of Brood War.
Right,
He
Sonic Star
the
League,
Sonic, yeah, the Sonic Star
SSL
League was a
before, yeah.
big thing for many years. For many years, he was a big supporter of Brood War. And then he started the Spenu company. Spenu was like a luxury shoe like footwear
Footwear,
brand.
yeah.
And
Athletic
they
footwear,
were
yeah.
and they were really big. They were really big.
Yep.
They had a lot of sponsorship deals. They were working with a lot of like Korean artists, like singers and
Yep.
dancers and all that. Like
They had
they had
like all the K-pop like
They
idols,
did.
you know.
Yeah. They
They,
had like a
they
really
became
big
brand
explosive.
ambassadors.
They had a really big explosive kind of like introduction to the scene, and they were a big deal. And then they started sponsoring StarCraft 2 events. They started sponsoring SSL. They made their own pro league team as well. Like they got involved quite a bit with both Brood War and SE2, which is why I thought it would be brought up, especially because it felt like a lot of the earlier interviews were focused around Brood War. So I felt like it had its place, but it's something that never quite was talked about so far in the interviews.
Yeah, that was, and it's also, yeah, I agree, because that definitely felt like a bit of a prelude, right, to the whole match fixing scandal that ended up breaking a little bit later. There, not 100% interwoven, definitely, but
Mhm. It's just events that happen
it's
near each
part,
other. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
It's events that happen near each other that kind of impacted the investor confidence, right, or
Hmm.
Kesva's confidence in
Yeah.
StarCraft 2 specifically. They were like, well, you have this whole thing where, you know, the CEO of one of the biggest sponsors is now going to jail for fraud, and then also at the same time you have all these. It felt like the perfect storm
Hmm.
that really made Kesva give up on StarCraft.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It was a pretty big deal, especially because like it isn't just how big they were in StarCraft, but I try to emphasize they were a big brand in general outside of
Yeah,
StarCraft, right? Like in
they
in the main
had,
culture of South Korea.
and even abroad. They
Hmm.
literally had a subsidiary in Singapore. They had. I was trying to look up Sabenu. I found out that they have not posted in at least 10 years, but the account is
Yeah.
still up there. Sabenu underscore SG. So they were going international at the time, and then all of a sudden
Hmm.
just completely fumbled, or just
Hmm.
completely got brought down overnight.
Yeah, exactly. It was so it's one of those things that affected, not just StarCraft, not just esports, but things outside of that as well. Which is why it is something to bring up. At the same time, I understand that I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it just slipped their mind when it comes to discussing that kind of topic, just because there's so much history in StarCraft that we've spoken about. There's so much other things that people look to, and I don't think many people talk about like the Spenu kind of
They
controversy that happened at the time, even though like it
they
was a pretty big deal that
yeah.
occurred that impacted tournaments and players and teams alike.
I'm looking this up right now. Apparently, they sponsored the Manchester United soccer
Yeah,
team
yeah,
in
that's
the
what. Yeah,
EPL. So it's,
they
yeah,
did.
Smenu was absolutely huge for that one year where they were where they were active.
They were huge. They were a big deal.
Sponsored League
So
of Legends, sponsored LCK in Korea. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Like so, I hope they get spoken about at some point. At this point, though, I don't know if they will, because if they were never, the problem is that if they weren't brought up to MMA, if Sven wasn't brought up to MMA, then I don't think
yeah.
they talked
MMA
about
or
it in any of
Chobra,
the
I
interviews.
feel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Choba especially, because he was also involved in LCK.
Yeah,
Um, for sure. So it's
yeah,
it's
might
just a little bit of a shame that
yeah.
bit of history that I feel like is pretty important might be glossed over, or
Well,
maybe
here
it'll be brought into the
I
overall documentary, but won't have any like interviewee parts.
yeah, I agree. I think it's a really it's something that absolutely should make it to at least the final documentary that finally comes out. But I will say that I feel like part of the reason why it potentially hasn't been brought up is, like you said, it's something that kind of slipped people's minds. I think because the match fixing scandal that came after the whole fallout from Sabenu was kind of overshadowed it in a way.
Mm.
Like
Yeah,
match
definitely.
fixing was much more of a bigger deal, I think, at the time,
Yeah,
and it happened
yeah.
so quickly after
Hmm.
Sabenu went defunct that it kind of it kind of overtook the
Yeah,
headlines.
I agree. I think the news cycle moved very quickly from one to the other. So when people think about that era, they most likely will think about the match fixing, less so the Spenu thing. Even though, as you said, they probably came hand in hand when it came to
Yep.
impacting, Kespa's involvement in Korea, right? Like they both probably played their own role in that. Which is also why I think it's important to bring it up, just because I'm pretty sure, even though we these interviews have focused less on modern StarCraft and Legacy of the Void, they still have, or Zombie Club still has brought up match fixing and brought up Life's involvement to some of the
Mhm.
previous interviewees. So I'm sure that's yeah, I'm sure it'll be brought up in the end for the final interview.
Yeah.
Or documentary.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense then. Yeah.
Mhm.
It took me a second because I was like, no, interview, that final interview, that makes sense. I was like, oh wait, no, you talked about something else.
It's all coming together something else. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting though to have heard MMA talk about it, right? Though, just because of
Yeah.
his,
I feel like
of his
MMA probably
involvement.
would have less, would have fewer restrictions, I think, to speak about Subenu compared to
Yeah,
some of the other
100%.
things.
Yeah, right. We spoke about it last time. How you don't want to talk ill about other people that are still kind of like in the scene, whether it's like Boxer and those involved in Slayers. But when it comes to what happened with Spenu, like I mean, you can talk all you
The
want.
guy
Like,
literally went to jail, so
yeah, exactly. Like there's nothing holding
you don't
back
need
there.
to. Yeah.
True.
Or did he go to jail, or did he just get sued? I just kind of assumed he went to jail.
Yeah,
Because I feel like when you defraud investors, that's like, that's painting a target on your back.
Well, it wasn't just that. If you recall, he wasn't paying a bunch of the manufacturers who were
Right?
actually making the
Yeah.
shoes because he had taken that money for himself. Like it was a big
Yep.
embezzlement kind of scheme that happened.
That was why they
Yeah,
were able to pump so much money into all these things.
I mean, we don't know that, right? Like, I mean,
Potentially.
the
Yeah,
idea
we
is he took that money
assume.
for himself.
Yeah, we assume,
Um,
but like you mentioned, it's usually not the case when it comes to greed like this. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just so he could take it for himself and stuff. Like, which is a shame because like it was a very successful kind of company. And then
yeah,
that happened. But yeah, and that in the end that kind of like wrapped up our Sal interview a little bit. I did speak more about GSL. He spoke about the announcement of EPT, of ESL Pro Tour, and he was even talking a little bit about his own career as a streamer as well.
yep.
It would have been nice to have heard a little bit more about what's to come with Sal, because even then, like, I'm not entirely certain what his plan is. I just know that he wants to do something different after the subathon, but yeah, be cool to hear. I mean, this is back in December, so he probably wasn't even planning the subathon then. But yeah,
Might have had inklings of the idea, but yeah,
for sure. And that does kind of wrap up our Sal talk, if you will.
Yeah.
It was a very lengthy interview. Do you recommend it?
Yeah, very lengthy. Flowed really well. It also it got me to think a little bit about, again, the drunk interview, the drunk history video that got put out, where TKL was specifically talking about Sal, and I was like, oh yeah, Sal. I was surprised when we first talked, because I assumed he was American. But he was absolutely terrible at small talk. So I was very surprised. But then I found out, I was like, what's wrong with this guy? And I was like, oh, he's Canadian. That's what's wrong with him. But yeah, again, if you were worried about Sal's interview based on that, do not fret at all. This isn't really small talk. So yeah, he's gave some really good in-depth answers and flowed really naturally.
He did, 100%. So do check it out. That leads us into our second bit of news here for the week, and that is we have heard from Maru.
Yes.
A bunch of people were curious as to what was going to be occurring when it came to Maru's military service, and we did get an update a couple of days ago.
Indeed, we did get this verified as well by Kashim and some of the other people who kind of looked behind the scenes, because again, these are private records that you don't want to put out publicly. So we're going to be trusting our sources there. But yes, Maru, as it turns out, will not have to continue with his military service, or won't have to go in anyway. But when it comes to his military service, he is not officially exempted, but for all intents and purposes, it's an exemption. It's basically treated the same as a military exemption.
I mean, officially he's discharged. Officially, it's
Discharged. Yeah, that's the term.
Yeah, so it's kind of taken as if he has done his military service.
Yep.
So basically, what has occurred, for those that are curious, is that Maru, he did register, he did notify, and he was ready to go to the military for the past couple of years. But every time, kind of, the time would come around where they were, of course, enlisting players and bringing them in to enter the military service. There wouldn't really be room for Maru, and this happened like a couple of times consecutively for a couple of years. And because it happened so often, because every time it came around, like Maru, he wasn't called upon. In the end, they were like, you know what?
And he registered every year.
Yeah, it's in the law in Korea where if this happens for enough time, for enough years, then we treat it like, hey, you know, you did your best. We couldn't bring you on. You've done your military service. You're just
Yeah.
done. And I was like, okay, cool. There you
Yeah.
go.
And they would be like, if you really wanted to, you could try to appeal. And it's like, no, I'm good.
So, for all intents and
And
purposes, in a way, he has
th-
conducted his military service. Not
yeah.
really, but you know, they tried. They weren't able to get him
see,
in, and there you go.
see, this is why Maru is by goat.
Uh-huh.
Because that's draft dodgers. We got to stick together.
It's not like you at all, but sure. not like you at all. God damn it. He was ready, mate. He was ready to go in. But
Yeah, so was I.
True.
Just didn't want
So
me.
for yeah, true. Yeah. You're not wrong. You're ready. You're also ready. So yeah, with that, so anyone that's concerned about, you know, when and where is Maru going to do his military, well, for all intents and purposes, his service is already done. So he doesn't have to worry about that any time in the near future. He is good to compete in StarCraft for as long as he is willing. It's good to go.
Yeah. Good to go ahead.
Go. Likewise, we have an update regarding. Oh, go on.
I was gonna say, just gonna end it off with me. You like Maru because you like his play style or his attitude out of the game or whatever. I like Maru because we're both because we both didn't do military when we were supposed to.
It's not.
We are not.
You're not the same. You're like, I couldn't do military because because of medical reasons. Maru though, he's good. I mean, I guess he has his wrist issues, but I mean that was fine. Yeah, still able to go for it. But we also have some news here from Basilisk. Basilisk, they recently announced, in a way, a new role here that Rotterdam is going to be taking. He was, of course, a content creator for them. He was a caster for them. I'm sure he did things behind the scenes as more of a player manager at times. But now he's been promoted in a way, or a role was made for him. He is now the manager of esports for Basilisk.
Indeed, esports overall, mind you, not just for SC2, which is going to be which right now does entail both StarCraft 2 as well as Magic the Gathering, but I think as most people have been speculating for a very long time, the owners and the sponsors behind Basilisk are freaking loaded, and so honestly it's been a little bit of a surprise that they've only stuck with StarCraft 2 and Magic the Gathering for this long. Right now they are going to be, it does look very much so that they are planning to expand into other esports.
Yeah, I mean, as you kind of mentioned, like Basilisk is more of a what's the term I'm looking for? It's like a passion project, right? From the owners, right? Like they have a lot of passion for maybe not necessarily a bunch of titles, but for StarCraft 2 and from MTG, which is why they invested, which is why they got, several, the best player in the world, especially at the time, Raynor, Trigger, they got a lot of high profile pickups. They're very, again, passionate about StarCraft and Magic the Gathering. And it seems like they feel like it might be time to expand. But I would say that probably because they're not really too experienced with the other esports, they're like, we want to branch out. We don't really know how to. We don't really follow these other esports. Roddy, why don't you take care of this? And that's where Roddy comes in.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. We're going to be seeing the F1 roster for Basilisk.
100%. Roddy's bias is going to shine through.
That's what I want to see more than anything, honestly. We're joking and being like, oh, Roddy, he's going to be biased. We're like, no, please be biased, Roddy. I want to see that F1 division.
I think this is most likely also having to do with the Esports World Cup. What I mean by that, if you remember, last year, the Esports World Cup, they gave bonuses for being in additional esports, and they incentivized teams to actually branch out and get involved in other esports titles. Basilisk was one of the few, if not like the only team that was in EWC that didn't branch out, that didn't have anything except for StarCraft 2, so they never got a bonus or anything like that. And it might feel like they might feel like they're missing out a little bit, right? Like they might feel like as a team, they're like, if we're taking part in this, we probably want to take advantage of that.
And clearly they have the money for it.
Yeah. So, in my mind at least, that's most likely what this is kind of alluding to, is that they want to play like a bigger role in EWC and the Esports World Cup.
Yeah, it might be a bit difficult, I think, to go for some of the titles that are, more team-based or where you do need big teams. So things like CS:GO, League of Legends, Dota 2. I'm sure they would want to try to. They would absolutely want to try to dip their toes in those waters if they could, but Valorant as well. But yeah, I think it definitely makes a lot of sense for them to go for something like maybe Rocket League, where you
Chess.
only need like 3 players. Chess, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Forgot that chess is going to be at EWC.
Yeah. Like remember when chess was announced for EWC, like all the big GMs in chess, they all started to get picked up. Like all the
True,
teams started knocking. They all got their own teams now. But like
I'm
like I feel like the
what I want.
1v1 esports would make sense.
Yeah, which chess that makes sense, but talk to me, wake me up when they announce a what's it called, animal fight game.
There you go.
Originated in China. Yeah, that makes sense. Fighting cabinet games as well. They might just pick up players because that's also usually what happens, right? For fighting game players, is the contracts are usually short term. It's usually will cover you for Evo or will cover you for some of these other tournaments, but after that, we'll look into whether or not we want to renew it. But yeah, we just know that we're gonna cover you for this specific tournament. That's been the case in fighting games for a while, so I feel like that would also be natural. Whether or not they want to sign a player long term, that's going to be the bigger question.
I'm sure they would want to. I'm sure they would. Bastos, they seem like the team that if they want to invest into a player, they want to invest long time or like for extended period and have this kind of like growth and have it seem to be a little bit more natural as well. That feels like how they want to be, but I mean, it comes down to Roddy now. Now that they've left that decision,
he is
up to
the
Roddy.
key holder, yeah, the gatekeeper now.
Exactly. So
we'll
see.
If you want to get sponsored, you have to beat him in an F1.
Exactly. So we'll see which esports Roddy does try to dip or just look into, and any kind of key players that Basilisk might want to support. It's definitely a big move here for Basilisk, and it's a sign of things to come for sure.
Yeah.
So with that does wrap up our regular news here for the week, and that leads us into our tournament results.
Indeed. I was just going to leave it off in the final notes. It reminds me a little bit of Shopify Rebellion in a way, where it also kind of started off as a bit of a passion project, but after a while did expand into other areas.
Yeah, exactly. They expanded into other titles and into other esports as well. Again, like I feel like EWC is probably kind of in a way incentivizing that growth as well, right? Like especially if they continue to support teams that support other esports, then there's just more and more reason to branch out, right?
I agree. Yeah.
But that leads us into our into our events this week here, and it starts us off with an event that, if you recall, we did announce last week that it was coming to a close. There are still 2 final Magic Up Masters Cups left before the dissolution of the league or of the cups.
Indeed. So the third to last one did take place recently. We actually had a familiar face signing up for this one. I don't think they're actually on the Wikipedia page, but maybe on Challenge? Regardless, yes, the Magic Cup Masters bi-weekly, which is a amateur event, as you were saying, up until the MMR of I never remember the number.
4.9.
4.9. There we go. Yeah, it's implied with it's kind of implied with the Masters title there.
As you were saying,
the is what I mean.
Well, you were about to point out the champion of this week's Magic Up Masters Cup, because he's someone that we actually have or even spoke about last week, as he's also a map maker.
Yes, indeed. Patches ended up winning this one. Ended up winning it with a 3-2 victory over Fletch.
Yeah, really nicely done there. Shout out to Patches. Fletch, also a recognizable player as well, that also has played in our tournaments in years past. So shout out to Patches, and is a player that you should be familiar with, or a name that you should be familiar with, because he does have a map in the TLMC.
Indeed, he does. One of the good maps.
True, true. I mean, so the best map in my mind is still the one with like one-line description. That's still
Yep.
like the.
This is my map.
That's
Do what you want.
exactly.
That's what I'm
so,
voting for.
What a Chad move! It's beautiful.
Uh,
But
I
yes,
love
yes,
that guy. I
Patches.
love that guy.
I do as well. I do as well. Especially like because we were going through every single map and we're going through all the descriptions. There's like one map with just one line. It's like, oh, he's for us, Pop. He's just for us. It's beautiful. But yes, congratulations to Patches for winning one of the final Magic Up Masters Cups before the events do conclude. So big shout out to Patches. Again, he's a big community member. He does stream a lot. He makes his own maps. He runs his own tournaments as well. So great to see him also performing well in these events.
Am I mixing him up with someone else, or is he also involved with SE Evo? I think in my mind, usually I just assume that if you're a matchmaker, if you're a map maker, not matchmaker, that's something completely different. That's what we do here on the CranKy Ducklings.
True.
But if you're a map maker, yeah, in my mind, I assume if you're a map maker, you're involved in some capacity with SC Evolution.
Yeah, I don't think he is. You might be thinking of Avex, because Avex is heavily involved
Right.
in StarCraft Evolution. And he's also in the TLMC. He's
he is. He has
also
2 maps, I believe, in TLMC.
At least. But yeah, with that, congratulations to Patches. That leads us into our next amateur event here this week. That leads us into the PassionCraft Emerging Stars number 6. This is for slightly above 4.9. This is for 5.5k MMR players instead.
I was gonna say it's slightly higher than 4.9. It's 4.999.
Yeah, there you go.
No, it's higher than that.
And we actually Patches even played in this one as well.
True, he did. Made it all the way to the semifinals. And he got Protoss. It's a lot of Protoss I'm seeing on this bracket.
Yeah. The higher MMR you get, the more Protoss and the non-existent Zerg you see as well, at least in the quarterfinals. So congratulations to Inexorable. Inexorable, again, he's won some of these before, actually, if you recall, before he joined Alien Esports. So he is no stranger to winning these events, and as a result, he doesn't just win it, he is also invited to the next OSC Elite Rising Star 15 as well.
Oh, true. I didn't notice that even.
Yeah, it's a really cool like qualifying system that they have, like a nice little partnership between the two.
It's almost like a Code A in a way.
Yeah, for sure. So congratulations to Inexorable, as it does win the event. It does qualify for the OSC Elite Rising Star, and we will be seeing more of Inexorable in the coming events, I'm sure, especially when it comes to the Brazilian events. But before we get into the Brazilian events, you just mentioned it earlier, it's on your mind, StarCraft Evolution League 8 was also this week.
Hell yeah, this time with a couple new maps.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they did get rid of some of the older. Yeah, they got rid of some of the older maps. They introduced some of the newer maps as well. As you're getting into it, specifically Purity and Industry, that is actually not the LE version. Yeah, that is an older map, but it was revamped a little bit, and I think they got rid of some of the rocks. They made like a couple of tweaks here and there, so there are some differences from the LE version. But yes, that is a map from back in like 2020 or something, from a long time ago.
You're right, yeah. So way back in the day. It was back when Sats was still playing.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's where my mind goes to. I remember, for some reason, I remember specifically Stats and Trap on this map. Not necessarily versus each other, but they had some strats.
Yeah, I mean, we casted this is like early EPT, like early ESL weeklies. That's we were casting these on Purity and Industry.
Cure,
so,
I remember Cure on this map insisting on again with his build that we never saw work ever, but has to have worked at least at some point, right? Otherwise, he wouldn't keep doing it.
Still does it every now and then, by the way. Still does it. He into 3-axing in TVP, shaking my head. You're not wrong, but they introduced Purity and Industry. They also introduced Holy World for the first time this month. And Holy World, what's interesting about it, it's a 4-player spawn map if you look at it, but in the center there's also a neutral CC and there are disruption webs, which is a spell. I think it's a spell from is it the Corsair, or it may be the Corsair. But you have a disruption web, and
Yes.
basically it's a zone on the ground. It's kind of like a blinding cloud, except you just it's kind of like a blinding
You
cloud,
can't.
but you just
Yeah.
can't attack.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a blinding cloud, but rather than reducing the range, it takes away your
Yeah,
attack ability overall. And I didn't even notice that. I thought initially that those were Zelnaga towers, so I was like, that's neat. Not sure how useful
uh,
that is, but that's neat. And then
mhm.
I was like, then I zoom in a little bit and I have you explain it. It's like, oh, I see.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a really cool
So you
new map.
can
Mhm.
no, I was just gonna say, so you can place a unit in there to maybe get a little bit of scouting, but the trade off is they can't attack. Like,
Yeah, or ideally
what's the
you can
point?
like try to force a fight on it, right? Like try to force your opponent into
Ah,
it, or if they're trying to retreat, then they can't kite through it either, right? Like so
true.
it makes for some dangerous areas if there's a fight happening in the center of the map, right?
I see.
Um, the other interesting thing about it, if you notice, so you have the corner spawn locations,
I
but
did
you basically
notice. What you,
but you have you have four pocket bases, kind of. You expand to your left if we're looking at bottom right, for example. You expand to your left,
Mhm.
but there's also like an
Well,
alley behind your main, and also on the right of your main, where
y-
you have these extra bases behind you.
that's what you. I noticed that now. I thought you were gonna say the interesting thing about this map is that your spawn is on the low ground. By the looks of things.
It is, yeah. No, that's all. Yeah, you're not wrong. That's also
I
crazy. Yeah.
how I when you started talking about the other bases, I was like, am I misseeing this?
No, yeah,
Am I
yeah,
hallucinating again? It's
yeah.
glad to know that my eyes were open this
Yes,
time. In
yes.
fact,
You got it. Yeah.
yes. Okay.
Which is also crazy because that means you can be sieged upon from the high ground, which means like drop play can try to come in from behind or something like that. There are also these rocks, of course, to open up the attack paths or the pathways to your own bases a little bit more as well. So there's a lot going on. It's a very interesting map that has, as you mentioned, like a lot of different features.
Yeah. How often was this vetoed?
Very often. I think
I can't imagine because
yeah.
I would love to see a couple of games on this map, but you have
Mhm.
to imagine that I have to imagine that a map as quirky as this, that is as unorthodox as this, is probably not going to be
Mhm.
played upon too often.
We were able to cast on it once that night, and I don't mind. We'll get into the results, of course, right after this. But there was a game between Bjorn and Skillus. Bjorn and Skillus in this game, and Bjorn, he went for a two base all in. He went for a two base all in across the map. He went for a tank all in, a tank push, and the problem was that Skillus, he was able to slow it down, able to buy time. He forced a siege just outside of his main, and because of all these bases that he has available to him, he was able to defend on a 3 and even 4 base economy. So like he was fine. Like he could like he was contained, but he was rich. But he had more bases than Bjorn, so he was able to like kind of wait it out and weather the storm and eventually break out. It was interesting.
Hmm. So check out the VOD on that when it does come out. Speaking of the results, yeah, Skillus
Mhm.
popped off quite a bit here, making it all the way to the lower bracket finals. Did end up falling to Classic in a bit of a PvP, and of course in our grand finals we have a returning champion, I believe, Dark,
Mhm.
winning 2 in a row.
It was Dark. This was, I think, his first time playing in the StarCraft Evolution monthlies. But if you remember, he
Okay.
is the reigning StarCraft Evolution full champion
Right.
from the big like group stage bracket that we had
That's what I
in
was thinking of.
December. Yeah. So I would say he is the best Zerg player currently in StarCraft Evolution, but he doesn't play in many events, which is why it was very surprising to see him show up here.
Yeah, show up here and win the whole thing. Not just win the whole thing, but also look dominant while doing so.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
sure, he played SC2 a lot of the time, but he also won games where he was playing as Brute War, so...
Yeah, yeah. His brutal games are looking very impressive as well. So Dark, he just kind of mowed his way through. Another player that showed up here that is barely in the bracket is Hero. Hero, he played for the first time. I remember asking him at the time. I was like, "Hey, have you played in this before? Have you played StarCraft Evolution?" He's like, "Nope." It's like I'm just playing this for fun, man. I have no idea what's going on. And he had less of less of a successful run here as he got knocked out by Skillus in the round 16.
Yeah, brutal.
Mhm.
Lower bracket only kicks in a little bit afterwards, by the looks of things.
Yes. You have to make it to the top 8 to get into the lower bracket. Um, so yeah, here it was fun to see him for the first time. He got knocked out. Björn, he also was playing for the first time. Like Björn is also not very experienced. We were asking him, he's like, "Yeah, I have no idea what's going on here," but but like I'm
He
here for some
doesn't know
fun,
about
Pappy.
he doesn't know about lockdown.
No, he doesn't. He didn't know about the lockdown, mate. There's a lot that he didn't know about, by the way. Same with the maps as well. He didn't really know what he was stumbling into. So there was a lot of fun seeing some of these players playing StarCraft Evolution for the first time. I don't know what got them to play. Maybe Hyper One was like messaging them all, or maybe Dark told them about it. It's hard to say, but yeah, it was cool to see some fresh blood.
Yeah. We also had a scout challenge, but apparently I was not.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of what this is. Is it the act of scouting, or is
Uh-huh.
it involving the Protoss unit, the scout?
So you know how the Monday night weeklies they give a bonus to like the Zerg player that does well.
Right.
Here, this is a bonus for the player that uses scouts the most. The unit,
The
I should
Protoss
say.
unit. Yeah.
Yes. And the reasoning for this is that the scout was recently changed in a balance patch. I mean, I say recent, like a month ago, maybe almost 2 months ago at this point. And the creators of the mod, they believe that it should be in a decent place now, but the problem is no one makes them. So it's hard to judge. It's like were the
They
changes
have
good?
such a
Were they not
reputation.
good?
Yeah.
We don't know. We need people to make the goddamn unit so that we know if we need to balance it or not. Like so that is why the scout challenge was made. Basically, you get money, you get extra prize money if you win using building scouts. You have to build scouts and you have to win, and likewise you also, I think it's for each win you get more and more prize money, something like that. So they had that like
That
a whole
makes
system.
sense. Because I was like, $7? That's pretty low, but it makes sense if
Yeah.
it scales with the number of wins that you
Yes,
get.
exactly. And Skillus did use scouts. He did use them
There
against
we
GG
go.
Machine, so that did happen. And
Once and then never again, because as it turns out, scouts are not in a good position. No, I just
no, they do really well. I think they have their place in ZVP. They kind of
okay.
like the Void Ray, where they have some good. They have some, I would say, better anti-air than a Void Ray. So they can hunt down overlords,
True.
and they 3-shot drones. So it takes 3 volleys to kill a drone. So, or 2-shot if you have 2 scouts. I guess you can 2-shot a worker. So yeah, they can harass. They can hunt down overlords. They have their place. I feel that's very good.
Neat.
Um, But yeah, so congratulations to Dark. I would say one upset that happened that I didn't get to cast. No one casted it, by the way. No one thought to. I just assumed that Spirit would do well. Spirit Piotr, he is the reigning champion. He's won 2 of these in a row, and Piotr got knocked out early on by Wayne. That was a shocking one.
I gotta be honest. I just assumed that Spirit didn't sign up.
Yeah,
Because I would have assumed that if Spirit played, he would have made it to at least the finals. But
yeah,
yeah, look at
100%.
this again. Spirit knocked out 0-2 by Wayne.
Yeah, like I have to imagine he got cheesed out. Like I have to imagine that, because I agree with you, right? If Spirit played in this, I expect him to make a deep run, but he got knocked out early. So yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, we're gonna get those replays.
We do. So yeah, it was like, as always, it was a fun time, a really long event just because of the double elimination nature. Fun fact: the finals was supposed to be a best of 7, but because it was so late, Dark and Classic did agree to a best of 5 instead.
There we go.
But regardless, congratulations to Dark. That leads us into the biggest world number 27. That leads us into what looks to be more of an invitational
Show
here,
match, yeah.
also covered in StarCraft Evolution.
Yeah, a little bit more of a show match for SC Evo, one that did allow us to see most of our maps. Monty Hall, of course, and Troy being the 2 vetoes, the usual suspects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was an interesting one as well, just because Zardiant, he's the main Terran player, but it looks like he only played Terran 2 games and he played Protoss all the others. So yeah, I I'm a little bit surprised that he made that decision. I wonder if like maybe Hyper One just wanted PvP, so he wanted to experience that a little bit more. Yeah,
Right.
interesting choice. Congratulations to Ateshi, but yeah, Zardian off racing quite a bit.
Yeah. I also like the implication there. It's like Hyper One wanted to see more PvP, so Zardian intentionally messed that up by playing Terran twice. No, I would imagine he had like maybe an allowance to be like, you can play 2 games as your main race, but for the most part, I want to see PvP. And you know what? He won more in PvP than he did in TvP, so maybe it's time for a switch.
Maybe. Shout out to Zardian. Congratulations to Ateshi for winning the show match. Looks like it was more of like an impromptu show match, but congratulations nonetheless. Again, these Bingus Worlds are just events that Hyper One runs whenever he wants. Like I don't think there's any like consistent schedule to them.
Yeah, you
just
say
every now and then.
Impromptu, it's like, yeah, that's kind of usually how it goes.
Yeah. So a little bit less serious, but regardless, congratulations. And that leads us into Amantes de StarCraft number 36. This is a monthly Brazilian tournament.
Indeed, and as you would imagine, a lot of green on this bracket, and I'm not just talking about Protoss.
Ooh, exactly. A lot of Brazil, baby, the best country in all of Europe, as you know.
Yeah.
But there is a player that's missing
by
here.
literally every metric. You cannot change your mind on that.
Exactly. Just look at Diego. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, Inexorable wasn't here. We featured him earlier in the Rising events, but here Inexorable was not available, so we were missing one of our players, one of our regulars, I should say. But instead, Yan was kind of carrying that torch. So it was great to see Yan at least as our resident Brazilian Terran player, as our top players did face off against each other.
Yeah, keeping up that legacy of Diego, if you will.
Exactly. We needed someone to do so. So we had Eric able to advance on into the grand finals. He had an intense series between himself and Master, some very long games, some very intense back and forths. Likewise, Master did kind of blow his way through everyone else involved, Shakti twice even, but Master, he did fall in the end in a close best of 7, close ace match in the grand finals.
Dang. And you casted this? Or am I thinking of something?
Yeah. We did cast it. Again, it was very.
As I vaguely remember seeing bits and pieces of those finals.
Yeah. Master, he was able to kind of show his prowess in like longer, later games. We had Eric being very Eric, if you will, like very aggressive, very quirky with his builds, going into Muta from time to time. It was a very dynamic finals. I do recommend watching it and tuning in. It was not your standard ZVP that you would expect. I don't think we had a single standard game, actually. It just didn't happen.
Am I thinking of something different, or was it the Mutalist on Neon Violet?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think. No, yeah, King's Cove. They had. They had I think they had mutas into like a 40-minute game on King's Cove. Like that.
Oh,
I don't know if that's what you're thinking about.
That's coming back to me now. Yeah. It just eventually became, I think, like full-on Sky Zerg versus Sky Toss.
Yeah.
I remember that now.
Ask King's Cove for you. That's. But yeah, it was honestly, as always, a really fun back and forth. I would say Eric and Master are the top 2 players in Brazil at the moment, and they do not disappoint whenever they face off against each other. So congratulations to Eric, as does barely claim that win, but Master is a worthy contender. We'll see them, I'm sure many others, face off next month in Next Amantes.
Indeed. Next time we'll get Inexorable again.
Oh, yeah, we should. 100%. We'll get some Inexorable action. As that leads us into the Sunrise Cup 190.
Indeed, we do. Another regional event that we have here, one focus more on the Chinese region. This time won by Oriana, defeating his opponent Wintergord 3-2.
Wintergord?
I'm pretty sure that's what it is, Wintergord.
It's Nanyo, you'll say, yeah?
Nanyo? Is that the... Yeah, that's Mandarin for Wintergord.
Sure. But yeah, congratulations to Oriana. Again, Oriana, he is near and dear to our hearts, has played in a lot of our events, including including the Platypus Grand Opens when they used to be around. So we have a fond place in our hearts for Oriana. So GG, well played. Great to see the return of Oriana. He's not the most, or I feel like we've been seeing maybe a bit of a slump or maybe not the best performances from him in Sunrise Cups as of late. But yeah, to claim the win here, nicely done. Big win.
Yeah, he still shows up every now and then, but yeah, like you said, usually it's, I guess, focusing on other priorities. He makes it to usually the quarterfinals, the semifinals this week. Made it all the way to the finals, and also won the whole thing.
Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations to Oriana. Again, for those who are curious, this is a weekly event, so every week we have a Sunrise Cup, so do check out some of the future events as well. This is, again, more centralized around the Chinese scene, the Chinese community. That leads us into our next show matches, though. That leads us into the StarCraft Global number 14.
Yeah, this one less of a full-on show match and more of a invitational bracket, and this is an insane result. I gotta tell you.
Yeah, we had 4 players invited. We had Zaun, Bunny, Björn, and Rogue, and we had some crazy matches here. First things first, I am shocked that Rogue took down Bunny 3-0. That's a big win already for Rogue. And Björn, he fought his way through that first round, went all the way to the ace match against Zaun, and went all the way to the ace match against Rogue as well.
Guess that mountain energy's running out.
I mean, you say that. I mean, that's a really strong performance there by Björn.
Yeah.
But as you were kind of alluding to, Rogue, he's a player right now that I would say isn't really the most active of players. Like he shows up for these events like invitationals, right? You invite him, he'll be there. But for open cups, he's a rare sight. He's a rare sight in open cups. He's not the most active of players right now. So he's really hard to judge skill-wise at the moment. Which is why, seeing these runs and seeing these performances is always a fun thing to see, just because we don't get to see much of Rogue nowadays.
Yeah. And to have a series where it goes the distance as well, that is very exciting to see.
For sure, for sure. I will say that Rogue, his ZVT, from what I've seen in the latest Alima leagues, because he would play in the Alima leagues. Now they're on hiatus, an indefinite hiatus for the time being. But Rogue, his ZVT is very much so very defensive. It's very defensive, and he's still relying very heavily on his Nidus Mass Overseer Nidus Lurker play, which he kind of flexed at the last Star Zagora, if I remember correctly, or was it Little League Cup against Clem. So Rogue is still with that style, and in ZVT it can be a tricky one to play against. It's cool to see it went to the ace match against Björn, and congratulations to Rogue for winning this week's Soup Global.
Yeah, you got that soup.
Oh, you got that soup. You got that ramen.
Oh.
I feel like, mate, is that a missed opportunity? Should Soup Events?
They should.
Should they have like a ramen bowl logo? Right? Does that not make sense?
They should, or at least or like a bread bowl or something.
Yeah.
A soup spoon.
Yeah. Guys,
because they've acknowledged it. They've acknowledged it in the past in memes.
Mm-hmm.
They know what the name of the company and what the name of the organization sounds like.
Yeah.
Could have like a stew, like a kimchi stew, or a army stew kind of pot.
Yeah. Exactly. Like Alexa, or like what have you. Yeah. I feel like we need more soup in soup. Yeah. God damn it.
Or should I make it soup?
They do. True. There's so much you can do with it. So much. But yeah, so congratulations to Rogue. That leads us into the Bass's Big Brain Bounce. So that is our weekly show match series here that Roddy does cover over on his own channel. And we had a blast from the past. I did notice this person join, I believe, Rotterdam's Discord server recently. The return of Mr. Bitter.
Hell yeah.
Mate, that is crazy.
How many years has it been?
I mean, okay, hold on. I want to say that Mr. Bitter, he appeared relatively recently in a Home Story Cup, right?
True.
Like it was like a surprise like showing, but Was he at the island one?
He
The
was at the island one, yeah.
yeah, the
20,
what was
Home Star
what
Cup 20.
yes, Homestar Cup. I mean, Homestar Cup 20. Like everyone was there. Like even Maynard.
True.
I think that was the one and only
Mike
that he went
Morheim
to.
was there.
Yeah, Mike Morheim, Kim Fan, everyone was at that Hipster Cup, and including Mr. Bitter, and that was already like a very like pleasant surprise to see him there. I think that's the last thing we've seen from him though, and I'm just looking at Wikipedia. This makes me feel bad a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah, that was recently, right? Mate, that was in 2019.
Yeah.
That's-
I was gonna say that
that's-
was 6 years ago, or 5 years
that-
ago, since it did take place towards the end of 2019.
yeah, like that was pre 2020, mate. Oh my god, I can't. That's
And
so
before
long
that, it
ago.
was 2014, which was the
Mhm.
last thing where he was a caster.
Yeah, that's back when he was active. Yeah, like that's like when he was actively as a caster 2014, which is over 10 years ago. Like the Home Story Cup was more of like a guest, bringing him on as a guest as one of the legacy casters from back in the day. So it's been a very long time, over 10 years since he's been like a proper mainstay in the StarCraft scene. So shocking to see him show up for this. Like really, really pleasant surprise.
Yeah. It went
Didn't
on the
win,
first.
but
It also got casted by Roddy, so that's very
yeah.
fitting, if you ask me.
That's his boy. Yeah, they were the duo. They were the NA duo, even though Roddy's not from NA, but like they were
Yeah, they were there.
they were there for NASL. That was before Nathanius was brought on. So before the Nader Dam combo, it was Mr. Bitter and
Yeah.
and Rotterdam. But yeah, so crazy to see him join. Did at least win a game. He did win a game. Shout out to Mr. Bitter for that. And is this the return? Are we gonna feature Mr. Bitter in a future Basilisk Big Rain bouts? Maybe.
Maybe we should have Mr. Bitter versus Rotterdam.
Uh-huh. We should. It doesn't say it on Wikipedia, and I didn't watch this myself. But I kind of wish, especially if they started with Mr. Bitter versus Holy Squid. I wish that Roddy brought him on to cast the rest of the matches. That would, right? Like that would just
Yeah, that'd be neat.
that makes sense. Like he wasn't known as a player; he was known as a caster. So bring him on, mate. Bring him on. I hope he did. Yeah.
Should have brought him on just to roast him after the loss.
Like, mate, what happened to you, old man? What's going on? Oh my god, you know how long you were supplyable for that last game? Oh my god. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he did bring him on. I hope he did. I hope he was able to bring him on and have some fun with Mr. Bitter. That leads us into the rest of the show matches. Of course, we had Hydra versus Special, Milky Cat versus Mute, and Arrow Fire versus DNS.
Yeah, a little bit of a what's it called? Friendly fire. Nation clash this week.
Nation War?
Of course, yeah, Nation War, but inside itself. So we had Arrow Fire
Civil
versus
War.
DNS, obviously. Civil War. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, so there's Civil War going on here this week. Hydra versus Special as well. That's I mean they're right next to each other.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, once again, I don't know what it is, but I appreciate that it feels like the Basilisk Big Brain, the Brody, he puts an effort to invite players from other regions. I think you brought it up last week with Taiwan, Hong Kong, with Lemon, right? Like
Yeah,
they
Lemon.
invited Lemon on, and you don't really get to see much of Lemon. Or I'm sure a lot of the audience doesn't really get to see much of Lemon. We do because we cast, regional stuff, but outside of that, you don't get to see Lemon too often. Same with this, right? Like Special, he's sort of retired. Like Special does not play and stuff. Yeah, so bringing him on, Mute as well. If you don't watch NA stuff, you wouldn't know about Mute, the Peruvian Protoss. So I appreciate that they're able to bring on some of these still very strong players, but a little bit less known or sometimes inactive. Like Special, he's like borderline Mr. He should Special should have played against Mr. Bitter, man. Oh my god, they're both inactive. True. They should have played against each other.
Yeah.
Oh god. But yeah, so I appreciate the invites in the lineup this week.
Yeah. I got another one coming up that's gonna be pretty similar-ish.
Yeah, we should have another. I mean, congratulations to Special. Despite Special being very inactive, he takes down Hydra 3-0. Mute takes down Milky Cow 3-1. I would say that's a surprise to me. I appreciate I appreciate Mutes. I'm a big fan of Mutes. He's been improving a lot over the past couple of months, if not the past year. Mute he rose up through the ranks amongst the Latin American region over the past year. But I would still rate Milky Cow higher. So for Mute to win that series, I would say that's an upset. That's a big win for Mute.
Yeah, I would agree. I would, in my mind, Milky Cow is somewhere like right below, like, and getting pretty close to someone on the level of Nicoract. Milky Cow is getting on the way to becoming the next Nicoract, and whereas
Yeah.
Mute still very strong, as you said, and still very active in the region, but he is somebody who I feel I've usually looked at him and consider him to be a bit more inconsistent. So yeah, I do think that this is a little bit of an upset and bodes pretty well here for Mute.
100%. 100%. Leads us into the main event. I find this main event really interesting because I could be mistaken, but I feel like mirror matchups for the main event are a rare sight. I think usually Roddy avoids ZVZs, PvPs, and TVTs here, which is why I find it, refreshing. I think even for the next event as well, they're going to be having a mirror matchup, so I find it refreshing. This is one that we do cast quite often, though, PvP, but it's a good way to showcase Aragfire, because Aragfire, I feel like he is hot right now. Like he's been looking good.
Oh, absolutely. Ever since he got picked up by Alien Esports, he's been really improving a lot and really been on the up and up. So, like you said, it's a really good way to showcase this and really showcase how much better Aragfire has been getting in these past couple of weeks, especially going up against somebody like DNS, who we've known for a very long time to be a very clutch player. Going up against not only going up against one of his countrymen, but going up against somebody who is such a clutch player as DNS.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It almost feels like this is like the Zoomer generation up against like the Boomer generation a little bit of when it comes to our French protos. It's like, DNS, one of the older players, like Aragfire, definitely one of the younger players, and looking to kind of dethrone him and kind of step into the limelight.
Now, old man.
Oh, no. Is that the theme? Yo, is that the theme for this week?
I think it is. Except in this case, both Mute and Milky Cow are very young, so.
True. I think that's the only odd one out, because I think that's the case for the others. For sure. But
and also we have Special, the old man beating Hydra, the young one. So.
Yeah. Hey, some of the old guard, they still got it in them. They still got it.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's Special. We've always known that he's been a closet Zoomer. So.
Yeah. Have you seen how much Pokemon's on his stream? Yeah. I mean. God damn. But yeah, with that, congratulations to our winners this week, and best of luck to our competitors next week in the next Basilisk Big Brain Battles. That leads us into our OSC Elite Rising Star 13.5, where we finally wrap it up.
No. No way. Well, I guess they really meant it when they said this was a 0.5 edition.
Yeah. There you go, mate. It's like, mate, it only took them a month. Do they know that they're like a month early? Like they.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, it is only halvesies, so yeah.
True.
A little bit short and sweet.
Yeah, so a bit of a shorter one here. And if you recall, I believe when we had previously caught up with this event last week, we had some predictions, and at the time it was the semifinals. The semifinals were ready, and I think we were both leaning towards Nickrat and Jumi in the finals. But I believe you were also giving praise to Shameless. You're like, Jumi versus Shameless can still be a close one. Like, it could still go either way. In the end, Nickrat did win his semifinals match, did advance on, and it was Shameless that took down Jumi.
Indeed, it was. Shameless, his PvP is an absolute killer. It's something that you can never underestimate. But at the same time, I mean, this is a little bit spoilers, but I do feel like Shameless has had a really good week. So it's been a pretty good week for Shameless. So yeah, really great result for him. He did end up falling in those grand finals to Nicoract, but I mean, that's Nicoract, so no shame there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do think that Nickrek's strongest matchup is TVP at the moment. Like TVP, he can take anyone down. Like he's a beast. He's hyper aggressive, and hey, he had almost pure Protoss here in this bracket. Had to deal with Demi initially, but Protoss from there. So Nickrek, he was in his element. He does come out in first place. Seamus in second, and Jumi did win the third place match over Middle VK as well to claim that third place spot.
Yeah, how angry do you think Jumi? Do you think Jumi was to get the 3-0?
100% he was angry. Like he was maybe even favored to win the entire thing. You know, I'm sure he himself had some
Look,
thoughts of greater
if
wins.
if it's any consolation, he did win the bounty for beating Young Yakov.
True. There you go. So he did still win some extra prize money there. But regardless, GG well played. I think that also means that Nickrek might have a bounty because Young Yakov, he's the previous champion.
True, yeah.
So for the next one, it's gonna be who can bring down Nickrek.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
So with that,
if
congratulations.
Jumi is the one, I think we can start calling him Bounty Hunter.
That would be really cool. That'd be yeah. We'll keep an eye out for that. We totally won't forget. But congratulations.
Our memories are very reliable, as proven.
Very, very.
As proven after 38 episodes. No, shit.
Oh,
37
no.
episodes of this.
It's fine. So congratulations, Nickrek, and to all the top players here in the event. And again, we'll see you guys for the next OSC Elite Rising Star, which I believe is scheduled to begin soon. TM. We were referencing an Inexorable who was qualified for it, and I believe it looks like the next event is actually it already began. Oh.
And this time it is a full one. It's not a 0.5 or anything.
Yeah. We'll get into it next week. It's still getting underway.
We'll get into the first round next week.
Exactly.
First round of 75.
It's gonna there's no rush getting into it because it's gonna last like 3 months. So
Exactly, yeah.
We got time.
It's good.
It's okay.
It's cool. Yeah.
Exactly. That leads us into this week's OSC King of the Hill. We did, of course, cover this event as well on the channel. And here we had the era of Terran in a way. Spirit, he came in as the reigning King of the Hill, and he went on a tear. What I will say is that there were a lot of really close and really clutch matches, especially with Jumi and Cristiano early on. But Spirit, he blazed his way through some of our regulars and even took down Solar to get 6 wins in a row.
Insane. And then after getting those 6 wins, just decided to abdicate early. Like,
Yeah,
all right, I'm good. I'm done.
Unfortunately, this event did coincide with the Wardy TLMC tournaments, and Spirit was playing in that event. So unfortunately, schedules did clash, and Spirit did have to step away. So technically, Spirit did go undefeated.
But you know what? His heir, in a way, or his regent, depending on how you want to look at things, did manage to continue that Terran legacy. Bjorn came in, beat Trigger, Night Phoenix, Luna Sea, Shameless, UED Soldier. That had to be a therapeutic run for Bjorn. Yes, beating 5 Protoss players in the war in a row, then beat GG Machine, Zerg player. In the end, fell to Cham though. I'm definitely impressed.
El Chamaco, papi. He came out swinging. He was able to bring Bjorn down with a much more aggressive style in the mid game, is what I will say. Cham able to gain map control and able to make use of Mutaplay as well. So it was great to see Cham rocking up. And yeah, it was really clutch play there by Cham. An unlikely, usurper there for Bjorn. Short-lived, very short-lived. Geralt, I always remember they got into their lobby and it was Geralt map pick because it's challenger picks, and he chose Abyssal Reef, and Cham was like, "Oh, you're taking this seriously." And Geralt, he did what you do best on Abyssal Reef. He was able to just turtle, hyper defensive, and turtle up on 5 aces, max out Sky Toss, and then he just moved.
Yeah.
Cham could not do anything about it. Couldn't do anything.
Yeah. Should have taken a page off of Eric.
True. Unironically. But in the end, Geralt did knock a champ out. So it was a short-lived win there, and then Geralt was able to take the final game against Nickrat and be the reigning King of the Hill.
There we go. So, yeah, Spirit, when he returns next week, he's going to be in for a bit of a surprise.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, yeah, Geralt, he's going to be invited. We'll see if he accepts the invite to be the starting player. Otherwise, it may go to someone else. But congratulations to Spirit, Björn, Geralt, and Cham for walking away with some wins here with some prize money in this week's King of the Hill.
There we go.
That leads us into the OSC Season 12 Championship, which we did wrap up. Again, this was the big online event after Little League Cup, where it was initially Mass Coliseum, into Little League Cup, into the OSC Season 12 Championship, into Pigsty Festival, which is currently still ongoing. But this was the next big major event. And one event it was as well. It was massive, huge bracket, so many players. And in the end, all things lead to MaxPax versus Clem.
Yeah, twice.
True.
So
it did lead to that in the end. Clem showing his dominance, to be honest, throughout every series, whether it was against Dark, Geralt, Shin. I mean, like, there were some moments where he did drop some maps, that is true, even in the upper bracket finals, even in the grand finals, but Clem, he did show his dominance. There's a reason why he's the best player in the world, did win the OSC Season 12 Championship as well. What I will say, some of the notable results coming into this was Skillous. Skillous, if you look at his lower bracket run, mate, Skillous, he looked so impressive. In my mind, like, he was almost like the MVP of the tournament. He took down Cure in the ace match. He took down Nightmare before that in the ace match. Took down Björn in the ace match. And he 3-0'd Hero. Like, mate, he took down Hero, Björn, Cure, and Nightmare. These are some big Korean names that Skillous brought down. And Geralt as well, who also has been on the rise. Like, these are not easy wins. Skillous, he really put in the work here in this tournament. Did get knocked out in the end, but he had a crazy run.
Yeah, I like that when you look at his lower bracket run. It almost looks like he was saving his energy for Hero.
Yeah, it does. It's crazy. So, I mean,
I'm not going to reveal 100% of my power until then.
It makes sense because that's a rematch. If you look at the upper bracket, look at who brought him down.
True, yeah.
The revenge match. So, yeah, Hero was the one that brought him down initially. Then he got his revenge. What I was gonna say is that he also potentially helped out MaxPax a little bit. MaxPax did claim the 3-0 dominant performance there, but MaxPax, he did have a shaky performance against Hero in the upper quarterfinals. They went all the way to the ace match. It was very close between the two of them, but they were denied the rematch by Skillous.
Yeah, it was definitely possible that we could have seen a Clem versus Hero finals. But in the end, Skillous, yeah, he took out Hero 3-0 and then ended up falling to MaxPax over there. But again, 'tis fate. We must always have a Clem MaxPax finals. So
there you go.
Not gonna fault Skillous too much there.
Exactly. Yeah, he wanted to help the narrative, okay? He wanted to make sure that we had it. It's fine. So congratulations to Clem and MaxPax for getting top 2. Again, shout out to Skillous because, again, he had a crazy performance in this tournament as well. I don't want to take away from him. May have gone down to MaxPax, but again, MaxPax is still also one of the best Protoss players, if not the best Protoss in the world. So no shame in going down to MaxPax. And yeah, I feel like Skillous, he can hold his head high after this tournament.
Yeah.
Did well.
I agree.
And that does wrap up our OSC.
It does wrap it up. When are we getting the next one?
Yo, mate, I think it was last week, Eddie, he messaged me that there's some crowdfunding going on because up next, you know what time it is, the OSC mid-season playoffs. They're like right around the corner.
Yep.
Every time. I think they start in April. Next month.
Well, we did say March is going to be a little bit lighter. We didn't say anything that comes after March. So
true. So Look forward to some more OSC coming into April. We had to at least have a month to gather points for that. But that leads us into our bi-weekly, or into our Open Cups, into our bi-weekly here, the KSL, the Korean StarCraft League number 70.
Oh, accidentally close that, so I start talking while I open it back up.
Yeah. Again, this is a bi-weekly tournament. It is open to all regions, but it is focused on the Korean region. It is funded via Patreon as well. I believe we have a command, !Patreon in the
Yo.
chat if you want to support it.
Support KSL?
Yeah.
Our Patreon?
Sorry, !KSL in the chat to support KSL. Yeah,
Oh.
There you go.
There we go.
Mhm.
And yeah, immediately what I'm looking at this bracket, and immediately something that catches my eye. Look at the last round, or the last match of the round of 16.
Oh yeah.
A recurring player came in here, somebody who we saw a little bit early, talked about a little bit earlier here. Mute took out Classic 2-1.
Oh yeah. We were surprised to see Mute take down Milky Cow, and hey, he rocks up here and he takes down Classic in the first round. I remember being shocked. I think we casted Bunny versus Rebellion into Dark, and Dark versus Bunny ended early. I looked over at the bracket, I saw Mute out of game. I was like, oh yeah, the GG, and I checked. I was like, hold on a minute. what just happened? And yeah, Mute, who was very humble about it, but he beat Classic. GG.
GG, yeah, very nicely done here.
Very nicely done, very solid performance. So Mute did take at least the initial round 16 match, did fall to Cure in the end, as Cure was able to advance on. We had our semifinals. It was Hero versus Björn, Dark versus Cure. Björn, he got his revenge. I just realized, looking at the Soup Show match that we had earlier, Björn did take down Rogue.
Yeah, 2-1, didn't quite manage to make it all the way to the finals. Fell to Hero in the semifinals, but yeah, nice little. I'm sure Björn. Well, I say that. I was gonna say I'm sure Björn isn't too upset, but losing to Protoss, no matter which Protoss player it is, for Björn, that's he be spoging.
Yeah. I'm sure he was at least a little bit. I'm sure. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, Hero, he was on a tear. He was able to take down Creator 2-0, Beyond 2-0, and did win in the end. I mean, again, Hero, he's typically the champion of the KSLs. Dark is always a good contender and a good kind of like challenger to Hero, but Hero, he's won the most out there. And yeah, in the end, Hero was not stopped. Not this time, not this week.
No, not quite.
So congratulations to Hero for winning this this bi-weekly, did take down Dark, and with that leads us into our next Open Cup. That leads us into the Sparkling Tunic Cup number 82.
Indeed, we do, and finally, it's happened. We have the namesake of this tournament winning the damn thing.
True. I mean, this isn't Ryung's first Sparkling Tunic Cup, did play in the week beforehand, but if you remember, so it was 2 weeks ago where Ryung got second place to Skillus. He got second place to Skillus. Skillus was able to claim that Royal Road, as it was his first time playing and his first time winning as well, so big shout out to Skillus. This time there was no Skillus. This event did end up clashing with some TLMC as well, or actually, it was either TLMC or Pigsty. It was one of the two. I think it was TLMC, and because of that, Björn and Skillus weren't available. They were not available. They could not play in this, but it allowed for some other competitors to arrive instead. And the way that it was seeded, for Funado, the admin of the tournament, we had a Wall of Terran up against a Wall of Protoss. Like they each had their own side.
Yeah. I remember I went out that evening when this took place. I came back and I saw you were still alive, and I was like, this camp. It was about I think 9:30 or 10 p.m. when I got back. Singapore time, obviously. Korean time, it was like 11 p.m. or something. And I was like, this is still going on? How? It's been like almost 6 hours. And then I noticed the amount of TVTs. I'm like, oh, that's why.
There you go. And I did just double check. It was the Pigsty Fest. So for the OSC events previously, it was clashing with the TLMC. This event was clashing with the Pigsty Festival. Again, it's been a busy week. It's been a busy week with all those events. We'll catch up with that. But yeah, congratulations to Ryung. Ryung, he does win it in the end. Shout out to Shameless. You were giving Shameless praise earlier when it came to his performance in the Rising Star event, and here as well, Shameless, he popped off.
Absolutely. I mean, defeating Geralt 2-1. That's not completely unexpected. Shameless, he is a PvP machine. He is a PvP sniper. But taking it all the way to the ace match against Ryung, even getting a 2-0 lead in these grand finals, that's pretty impressive, if you ask me.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like Ryung, his TVP, like we've seen him go up against Showtime, we've seen him go up against Hero, we've seen him take them down as well. Like he is no slouch whatsoever. This was a treat though, because this wasn't your standard TVP. Not every game, but a couple of games in this series, Ryung, he whipped out the mech. He whipped it out.
Are those the games
and
that
he won
lost?
with it.
Oh, okay.
No, he won with it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he won the series with mech actually. like Star Child, like he was able to mech it up. It was impressive. So yeah, it's always a lot of fun covering Ryung. I remember I had like a little impromptu interview after the series. I was like, I think I asked him, Gumiho and yourself, you play mech every now and then. Like, do you have any thoughts on it? Like, why do you decide to play mech against Protoss? And he said, I see people play Bio against Protoss, and I see them lose. He's like, I see them try, I see them lose. So I'm like, why didn't I try mech? Why didn't I try it? It's like, okay, fair enough. So and at the very end, he told
you the definition of insanity.
exactly. And he's like, and sometimes I win. It's like, okay. And
whoa,
and at the very end,
sometimes.
It's being humble. And at the very end, he said also, Ryung mech greater than Gumiho mech. I was like, oh, I was like, oh, them's the fighting words, Papi. Oh my god.
we need that show match.
We do. We need that grudge match between Ryung and Gumiho, and it's gonna be like a 10-hour like best of 7 or something. It's gonna,
it could be a best of 3, and it would still be 10 hours.
It would. Oh no. So I don't know if we actually want that show match between the two of them. I don't think the universe can handle that.
We'll have rotating casters after every map, because every map is going to be like 2 hours long.
Fair enough. Okay, we will make it happen. So congratulations to Ryung. As you mentioned, he did win his namesake. The Sparkling Tuna Cup now belongs to the Tuna Terran himself, so congratulations. It feels like, it feels good. Feels good having players now like Ryung playing in our tournaments.
Yeah.
Feels good, man.
Feels good. One day I'll be able to show him a keyboard and he won't just say, okay.
No. That'll be the day. So shout out to Ryung, of course, and again, shout out to Shameless for also having a really good performance in this week's tournament as well. Again, Shameless, he is a player that's on the rise, so definitely someone to take note of and to definitely follow when it comes to his runs, when it comes to his tournaments. That leads us into the Wardy TV Monday number 7. Number 25.
Yeah, close enough. Same number. Close enough.
Well, what's the difference between 5 and 25 and 7? What's the difference?
Yeah. All right, Eddie. Yeah.
True.
I'm still the same.
Still the same. But we did have our event this week. Once again, I feel like we don't actually see too often Clem versus Max packs in some of these mixed events. It feels like, we did see them at the finals of the OSC Championship, but not so often here in the World TV Mondays, as we had a Hero stepping up to the plate instead.
Yeah, Hero taking out Max packs 2-1 in those semifinals. We get it all the way to the grand finals, and honestly, there were points where I was looking at this where I thought that Hero was going to be able to clutch it out.
Oh yeah. I'm still thinking. I'm still thinking of El Dorado. Like Hero, he was doing so well on El Dorado. That was game 4. He had map control. He was doing damage, and Hero extended. You know, Hero does what Hero does. You know, sometimes he gets a little bit too excited, sometimes a little bit too aggressive. It was a really close series between him and Clem, and I feel like we've been seeing a lot of these two face off recently. I think it was even in last week's like Monday Night Weekly where Hero he's been going full degen, if you remember. He's been playing, staying up
Yep.
and playing in all of the events, and has been winning them as well. Like it's crazy to see Hero be more competitive against Clem as of late.
Yeah. Pretty soon we're going to be able to see that. Pretty soon, I think we're going to be able to see him clutch it out.
Yeah, I mean, he beat him last week. It was
Oh, true. Yeah.
yeah, it was last week where Hero did defeat Clem in the Monday Night Weekly number 6. So they've been going back and forth. They've been going back and forth. Regardless, this week Clem does win the Water TV Monday. Flexes his Protoss against Cure once again, and against Percival as well. I mean, again, he'll never TVT again. We can.
No,
I mean,
Percival
you were
took a map,
joking.
though.
Yeah, let's go. I was gonna say that you've been joking a little bit about Ryung and Gumiho with their TVT mech, and you know that's one of the reasons why Clem avoids TVTs now. You know, it's because of them. It's
Yeah, traumatized.
It's understandable. Yeah. Oh god, never again. So congratulations to Clem as he does win this week's Woody TV Monday, and that leads us into this week's Monday Night Weekly's number 7.
Indeed, this time a little bit more familiar when it comes to our grand finals. 'Twas once again Clem versus MaxFax.
Yeah, and shout out to some of the Koreans for staying up. We had a little bit more this time. We had Solar was there, Byeon as well, Bonnie. So we did have some more representation from Korea in this week. In the end, as you mentioned, Hero did take down Max Pax initially, went to the ace match against Clem. Clem made it to the finals, but Hero failed to reprise his role this time as Max Pax took him out in a best of 1.
Yeah. A little bit of too much of that degen, I think, possibly catch it up to Hero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe catching up a little bit here. In the end, Clem did win it. Clem did take down MaxFax 2-0. So congratulations to Clem for winning 2 of these weeklies in a row. Shout out to Solar this week. Solar, he was the highest placing Zerg player. So Solar did earn some extra prize money.
Yeah, that should beat Spirit to get a little bit ahead there. Compared to Fiant, otherwise we would have had a tie.
Yeah, do you think this is the only reason why Sola signed up this week?
Yes.
Do you think he's been hearing these murmurings about like a Zerg bonus prize? He looks over, he's like, "Yo, Fiant's winning this money, you know, Nikic as well. Like this is mine, mate." And then he stays up just for his bonus. Yeah. Let's go.
The day the villain arc continues is the day he doesn't win the bounty or the bonus.
Oh no, that's gonna break him. That's gonna. Oh no, be too much to bear, mate. Too much. So shout out to Sola for claiming that win. That leads us into our next Open Cup. That leads us into the Pigastore Monday 21.
Yeah, this time with a PvP finals.
Yeah. This time no PVT. This time Clem and MaxFax didn't stay up. They did not stay up. They did not go full degen. You know, to trigger. He cracked that whip, and they they went to bed. Exactly.
Or you didn't even need to phone him up. They were just staying up, and they were thinking, "Man, Trigger would be so upset if we were still awake."
Yeah, exactly.
You know what it is? It's Trigger was in the Monday Night Weekly. He stayed up, and he said, "You boys are still awake. You better not be awake for the Pigastore Monday."
Yeah. He did threaten them. It's true.
Yeah?
It's true. Did threaten them, and they did go to bed. In the end, we did have our top 2, Hero and Creator. Hero, he was able to make his way through the upper bracket.
Bless you.
Thank you. As Creator, he was able to take down Byeon. Big win. Creator and Byeon, the Mountain Boys. They faced off again.
Yeah. Who shoved who off the mountain? Well, in this case, I guess Creator shoved Byeon off the mountain, yeah.
It did pull it up. Creator takes down Byeon, but a impressive upset did happen here as well. Geralt, and if you saw, he took down Cure in the quarterfinals.
Oh, yeah. close series going on over there, but I would normally expect Cure to be able to take out Geralt. So yeah, really good results here coming out from Geralt.
Yeah, really solid results out of Geralt. As you mentioned, Cure was favored 100%. We've even had Cure versus Hero in the finals, and I was even expecting Cure versus Hero in the finals again, but this time he is denied. Likewise, Bunny took down Solar in the quarterfinals as well. Solar even dropped the map to Creature. So you know that again, that PVZ, mate. That's
Yeah, villain arc, yeah.
no. Yeah, Solar having a bit of a harder time there, but he also, did go full degen and also played in all 3 events, so
True.
that probably plays
Well,
plays
I
as well.
I would hope that he would keep that in mind and not go full Smoge because of that, but
Hmm.
it's Solar in the villain arc. That's actually gonna make it worse.
Hmm. For sure, for sure.
It's gonna make
Always,
him
always.
Smoge harder.
So we'll catch up with Solar in next week to see if that continues or if he is able to get his revenge and break out. I like to believe that winning that like Zerg bonus is keeping him sane,
Yeah.
keeping him in check. That's
It's the one thing, yeah, it's the one thing that's prevent it that's caging the demon in him from
hmm
breaking
hmm
out.
Yes, it's keeping him tempered, keeping him tempered. As that leads us into, or that concludes our Open Cup, so congratulations to Hero for winning that final Pigasaur Monday. That leads us into the Pigsty Festival. There are 2 major events going on at the moment. They're both still ongoing. They have not concluded. That is the Pigsty Festival and the TLMC. And the Pigsty Festival did conclude its group stage last week.
Indeed it did, and oh man, these are some very massive upsets. I'm gonna have to say. I feel like Group A probably went how most people would have expected it to go. I mean, I think more people would have expected Cure over Shin, but B, C, and D, these are okay. Maybe Group C was about how people expected as well, but B and D in particular. Oh man,
Yeah, so Group A, we have several Shin, Cure, and Trigger. I believe I believe I had a hard time. I think I settled on Shin, and I believe you went for Cure on that one, but we were both 100% for several. As you mentioned, could have gone
did it
either
go?
way. Did
Yeah,
go down to Shin and Cure. Hmm?
I either went for Cure or went for Trigger. Because I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
you went for Shin, and I was like, I don't want to pick the same.
But what's important is that these are not round robin groups. They're GSL groups. They are
Mm-hmm.
GSL groups, so they have a different format to them, which we do appreciate. In the end, we had several and shit advancing on. Group B, oh my god, we had Zaun, Clem, Bunny, and Solar, and we both expected Clem to make it out in first place. That did not happen.
Zaun, in fact, popped off. He beat Solar in his first round, and then in the winners round, beat Clem.
Yeah, we have seen again like a bit of a rivalry between Zan and Clem as of late. I think it was in the last Enki Pro Series where we saw a best of 7 between Zan and Clem, and that also went the distance. Didn't go to the ace match, but I think it went to like game 5 or even game 6. So Zan and Clem, or I should say, Zan has been looking
4-2.
really impressive as of late, and yeah, 4-2 in the end. And yeah, for Zan to beat Clem here, I want to say that probably more people saw this result, saw this group, and I'm sure he's now getting more recognition from the wider audiences.
Yeah. If there was ever a team, especially a Korean team that had some deep pockets that recently let go of one of their players or recently had one of their
Uh-huh.
players leave and is
Hmm.
now and has expressed more interest in
Hmm.
sticking into StarCraft 2
Hmm.
and are looking to pick up a non-Terran player, that's a pretty hot free agent out there by the name of Zaun.
Exactly. Zan, he is on fire
If
right
one
now.
of
Takes
those,
down Clem.
if one of those teams existed, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. And if they started with Team Vitality,
Yeah.
if that,
If
just
yeah.
by chance, yeah. But yeah, that's a big win there for Zaun. In the end, Clem did claim second place, taking down Bunny. I think we both had a discussion. We both settled on Clem and Zaun, but I think we both agreed that it would be Clem first and Zaun second,
Yep.
more often than not. I can't remember if you said Bunny as well, but I think we were both like definitely on that Zaun hype train.
I said I wanted Bunny, but it would
Mm.
more likely be Zaun.
For sure. Of course, Sola's villain arc continues. I think we both agreed on that. I think,
Yep.
I think you made the joke last time where like I think
Oh,
we can
yep.
both agree one thing, and that's Sola's not getting out of this group.
And that's Sola getting very close to getting out, but not getting out. Yeah.
Oh no,
1-2 against Zaun, and then 1-2 against Bunny. Oof.
my heart, Poppy, my heart. Oh no. No. One of these days, the villain arc is it's gonna set him free, and he's gonna
Yeah.
pop off. It's gonna be crazy. And I
One,
don't want to
one,
be the player standing in his way when that happens.
one of these days, the demon spirit will emerge from within him. He won't be able to contain it. He'll go on a tear, and then the demon will leave, will dissipate, and he'll finally be free.
Yes, he can finally rest. He can go back to the Zen beaches with Miyamaika, where he's free from Protoss.
He go on the cruises. Yeah, he can experience
Yes.
life without Protoss again.
It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be beautiful. He'll get there. He'll get there. That leads us into Group C. Group C, I do recall I went for Nikita. I can't quite remember. I think you might have gone for Nikita.
I think I
can't
went
quite
for
recall.
Bjorn and Nikita in this one.
Okay. Fair enough.
It was I wanted Nikita to make it through.
Yeah, of course. In the end, Hero, he was able to 2-0 his opponents, came out in first place, and Björn was able to have a strong performance as well. Unfortunately, Skilless did have a bit of a rougher showing here, did go to the ace match against Rogue, but Skilless did go down in last place, and it came down to Björn and Rogue in that final match. We've been seeing a lot of Björn versus Rogue this week. That's the third time they played.
Coincidence? Yes. But
yeah, it is.
it's pretty nice to see regardless.
Yeah, they go back and forth. Rogue defeated Björn in the Super Invitational. Björn defeated Rogue afterwards, I believe, in the KSL. And now Björn defeats Rogue here in the Pig Sty Festival. So Björn does advance on over him. That leads us into Group D.
Which I think, okay, first off, let's be clear on one thing. When we saw this group last week, we were in agreement that this was the group of death.
Yep.
However, I still can't believe Classic did it. I'm gonna be honest, I'm pleasantly surprised that Classic still was able to 2-0 Maru and then also beat Dark in that elimination match.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I need to watch the VODs here. I need to see. I mean, I can see Classic taking down Maru. I need to see how Dark took down Maru. I mean, I can see Dark cheesing the hell out of Maru and going for like Roach Lins.
That's what I would imagine.
I'm really curious about seeing Maru's play, because if you remember, Maru, he also had like a bit of a he had a lackluster performance in Little League Cup where he lost to Lancer. Lancer eliminated Maru from
advancing.
Yeah, he did eliminate him, and that was really shocking to a lot of people. Lancer, he was playing very well, by the way. He was playing very storm-based, very mid-game oriented. I don't know if Maru's having a hard time in the matchup of TVP, or if he's on vacation and out of practice. I'll be honest, like right now there's not a lot going on.
He wasn't sure if he had to go to the military.
Yeah,
and then only very recently did they say, "Oh yeah, you're free."
Yeah. That honestly, that could be a part of it. Like, I don't want to take away from the players, but we expect a lot from Maru, and it is very possible. I would have assumed that it was maybe Maru just, taking a break from the game, but with that extra information, it's possible that he may have just thought he was going to go to the military soon, so he wasn't investing as much. Regardless, GG, well played. Classic and Dark bring him down and knock him out of the tournament, and alas, in the end, Max and Classic make it through the group stage.
Indeed, Protoss, man, they're rising.
Oh yeah. I think we settled on Max and Maru. I think getting out of this group, but I think we both agree that as you mentioned, it was going to be a hard one to call. I can't quite recall.
We were in agreement that it was the group of death, but I do remember I wanted to see more Maru come out, because again, it's been a while since Maru's not really active when it comes to a lot of these online events, so the more Maru we get is the better. IMO.
If you remember, we both wanted Maru to make it through because we wanted to see Maru versus Clem.
True, yes, I remember that now. Yeah. We wanted to see Maru versus Clem's Protoss, and you know what? I think Maru heard that.
God damn.
Maru heard that, or Dark and Classic heard that, and they were like, "Oh, well, we'll show him."
God damn it. Yeah, it is unfortunate that we have yet to see that. But regardless, congratulations to the players that made it through the Big Sky Festival group stage. The playoff bracket is going to begin next week. Not this week. Next week is going to be the playoff bracket. We can scroll down, we can have a look at it, and we can get into potentially even some matchups and some predictions. We have the upper bracket here. These are all the players that made it out in first place from their groups.
Yeah, these are the players who have a little bit of a safety net. If they do get eliminated in that upper bracket, then they will be going to the lower bracket. It's actually a really interesting arrangement that we see over here. We don't normally see the grand finals in the lower bracket, but
Yeah,
that's what we got.
Yeah, so we have Cell versus Max and Zaun versus a Hero. But you're not wrong. Usually the semifinals would be on the upper bracket. Like the formatting of the bracket is looking a little bit weird, but usually it's structured a
It
little
makes
bit
sense.
differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
it's
still
pretty
makes sense.
streamlined, I think. So
Uh-huh,
I'll
uh-huh.
allow it, but yeah, it took me a little while to get used to the structure, as you were saying.
For sure. We have Cell versus Max and Zaun versus Hero. Okay, first things first, mate. Who you feel
Zaun.
like Zaun? Oh,
I'm on
with
the
the
Zaun train
PvP?
now. I'm on the Zaun
Okay.
train 100% now, yeah.
Actually, what's interesting about that series here, I think we mentioned who are the potential pickups for Team Vitality. I feel like the top potential pickups are Zaun and Hero. You know, are they playing
Zaun,
for the
Hero, and
jersey, mate?
Classic, yeah.
Yeah.
One of those three.
True. Yeah, the three Protosses. I feel like this could be a battle for the
True.
jersey. Like some players, they might be fighting for prize money. Maybe they're fighting for a salary.
Yeah,
That's what
they're
they.
fighting for clothes. Oh, and then I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say they're fighting for clothes. They're fighting for something clean to wear. They're fighting for
Oh no.
something that they can actually go outside in
hmm hmm
or sleep in, depending
It's
on how degen you are.
Yeah. Definitely something to consider here for our players. So you're going for Zaun. Celo and Max, they have been going back and forth as of late. Some beautiful DVP between the two of them in Mass Coliseum and in the League Cup. Who you feeling? Who you feeling?
Wait, which matchup were you talking about?
Both of them.
Oh, Cell versus Max Pax?
Yeah.
Okay, Cell versus Max Pax. I feel like Cyril has a couple of tricks up his sleeve against Max Pax specifically.
hmm
But at the same time, I feel like Max Pax has been doing really well, and I do think that most people are in agreement that right now the meta in ZVP does favor Protoss a little bit. So I think it's going to be a very close one.
hmm
That, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to say it's going to be a very close one that Max Pax wins.
Okay.
We
So
go
you're looking
3-2.
in Max and Zaun as well.
Yes, because I know you're going to
Yeah.
lock in Cyril and Hero, so.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
the opposite. Yeah.
I
think
mean,
the opposite.
I'm very on the fence about Zaun and Hero. I can see that going anyway. To be honest, I can see that going either way here. And even Cyril versus Max Pax, because I think I favor Max Pax in the late game against Cyril. I think his late game is
Yeah, I can see
stronger.
that.
But if you remember, Cyril, he had an interview with Roddy after Master Coliseum, and I think Roddy asked him about it. And Cyril, he was talking about how he had adapted because they had a rematch in Master Coliseum, Cyril and Max Pax. And Cyril, he went for something more, he played more aggressively in the rematch, and he was able to beat Max Pax and able to kill him before they got to the late game. So again, I do think that he has adapted quite well. It's hard to call though. I agree. I think I'll you know what? Just to be different from you, I'll settle on Cyril and Hero.
Yeah.
What about the lower bracket there? Lower bracket, Clem and Björn. There's an error there. I think we both know that Clem is going to play
Yeah.
Protoss. Yeah.
What is this blue next to Clem? Yeah.
The showing is off race. We have Clem versus Björn, Classic versus Shin.
Okay, so I'm in the classic hype train right now.
Mhm.
Just because, yeah, I do think that his performance against both Maru and Dark was pretty impressive, and, you know, I'm always rooting for the Shin toss, so
Mhm.
in that one, I'm going to be saying classic. Clem Björn, I want to see the Mountain Boy do well,
Mhm.
but I feel like Clem's Protoss is going to be a bit too much to overcome.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, I think I would have to agree with you here. Like, I favor Clem's Protoss over Bjorn, and I favor Classic over Shin as well. I got a lot of love for Shin. I have a lot of love for him. But I do think that Shin, he was peaking a lot when the map pool was fresh, like December, January. Coming into February, March, now that everyone's gotten used to the map pool, Shin, he has been less tricky as of late. Like his builds have become a little bit more standardized, and it's a little bit less creative. And I think he's having a bit of a harder time in CVP than he was previously.
Yeah, I agree. Plus,
So
Protoss patch, so.
true. But those are gonna be the initial rounds. I guess we can end it there because looking
Yep.
at our schedule actually, I believe the next time we have a podcast, we won't actually have a champion yet.
No, we will not. We will have our, I think, first rounds finished.
Yeah. So we'll reconvene next time, and then we can have like a prediction on who you think is, at least for now, before we lose anyone. Who do you think's gonna take it? Top 2.
It's gotta be Max Packs, right? No, I'm on the Zound hype train.
Okay.
Gotta be, history says that it's gonna be Clem versus Max Packs,
Uh-huh.
but train hype says that it's gonna be Zound.
Okay.
It's gonna be, you know what? Zound is gonna beat Max Packs in the semifinals, and then he's gonna beat Clem in the grand finals, supplanting both of them.
I want that. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, like, if Zound wins this, it's Zound beating Clem in the finals. 100%. If Zound were to win this event. The problem is, unfortunately, because of the way that the bracket is formatted, that's not possible. If you can see, in the semifinals, it's that's the...
I realize now.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
no,
Clem...
he could lose to Hero, and then he could beat...
True. If you want Zound versus Clem in the finals, then Zound has to lose against Hero. That's the conundrum that you're in, mate.
And we won't have we also won't have Zound versus Max Packs.
Yeah.
Unless it's in the grand finals.
So it is possible for Zound to face Clem in the finals, but he has to lose against Hero for that to be possible. But I agree that there's a strong possibility for that though. 100%. Yeah. The problem though is that if Zound loses the Hero, then he's gonna have to work against the loser of Cyril and Max in the next round. But
wait,
there's some math involved.
That doesn't make sense. Yeah, never mind. There's no way Zound can play both Max Packs and Clem.
Unless
no,
he can. If Max Pax beats Cyril, then Max Pax is seeded into, you can see the winner round 2 M1.
Right.
So if Zound loses the Hero, and if Max Pax beats Cyril, then Zound can face off against Max Pax in the semis and play against Clem.
I see. Oh no, I think that's the other way around. He will face Clem in the semis and then Max Pax in the grand.
No, the other way.
The other way?
I mean, that can also happen as well. Like both is it depends.
Okay. Depends, so the stars have to align.
Yeah. yes, they have to align. regardless, Clem versus Zound finals would be amazing, and I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think the boring answer is that Clem's just gonna win everything. I think that's just he's the reigning world champion. Like he is favored to win everything here.
Your evidence can do nothing to slow down my hype train.
True. I mean, I'm all aboard the hype train. I think Clem wins this unless Zound plays against him in the finals. That's what I'll say. That's what I'll say. Regardless, do check this out over on Pig's channel. Again, this will continue next week, and it'll be over in over a week as well. So still plenty of time for the Pigsty Festival to come around. That leads us into our next major event. That leads us into the Wardy TV Team Liquid Map Contest, number 13. I do recommend refreshing the bracket just because I believe this is currently being played out. Group A and B have concluded. Group C is currently underway.
Indeed, we do. We actually have a first round of Group C concluding, so.
Ooh, oh my God! Okay, we'll get there. we'll get there. First things first, we have our group stage. We do have our group stage now. First things first, invited players. If you remember, I think we were kind of like theorizing who would be invited, who would be brought in.
Right.
Once again, I don't see Trigger. I don't see Trigger in the invite list. Just saying.
SMH. My head.
SMH. My hedge. Mana got invited. I mean, for good reason, apparently, but still. God damn it. And Fiance got invited as well. Okay.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Still disappointed that it's not Trigger, but, you know, I'll accept Fiant.
These are some interesting invites now that I look at it. Like, these are not the Zerg invites that I would expect. Like, Rogue and Lambo, Fiant, no Solar, no Serral.
Solar's busy smoking, so.
True.
Or is this part of the villain arc? He expected to get an invite and he
no.
didn't.
No,
he got snubbed and now it's going.
Not like
smooching harder.
I think I like Lambo and Rogue as invites though, because I feel like you want players that will like stretch the limits of these maps, right? Because this is just right. I got ahead of myself. This is a tournament that is designed to feature the newest maps in the TLMC.
Yep.
Why is Shin not here? why is there no Shin? That's my question. Now that we think about it, yeah, true. Gumiho, May, we need to get the most abusive players in here. Like, what's going on? Regardless, we have a group stage, and we can jump into Group A. Oh, which is a round robin group.
Yeah, these are all round robin groups. Yeah. And yeah, I think last week we were predicting a little bit. I was really cheering for Creator here, and yeah, unfortunately not. Didn't have the best time over here. Got close a couple of times, but yeah, was never quite able to make it through. MaxPax and Rogue, who actually I think I would say right now a little bit of an upset. I think right now I would have expected Spirit over Rogue.
Yeah, I agree. I think I did favor MaxX and Spirit making it out of this group, but instead we have MaxX and Rogue advancing on instead. Big wins out of Rogue. I mean, Rogue and Spirit did go to the Ace match, so I'm sure a lot of it came down to that series. Did go the way of Rogue in the end, so congratulations. We have our top two making it through Group A. That leads us into Group B. Clem, Zan, Björn, and Jimmy. And here we did have actually a similar group to what we had in Pigsty.
Yeah, Clem and Zhao gonna be our two players making it through, although this time Clem does make it through with the higher score. Zhao actually making it through with a negative series score, now I look at it, and map score. But I guess it goes to show you how stacked this group was.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy beat Zhao. That's what Jimmy beat Zhao. Zhao beat Björn beat Jimmy. There was like a bit of a rock, paper, scissors between the three of them. And in the end, Zhao he barely clutched it out. Barely.
Yeah, Zhao was the one player who was down -1 instead of -2. So, because he was able to take a map off of Clem, I assume? No, it was
Jimmy,
yeah. Because he beat Björn and took a map off of Jimmy.
There you go. So GG well played. Zhao, he barely does clutch it out. And again, bearing in mind that these groups and these matches, the X factor here is that they are playing on unique maps for the first time. I don't think they have much experience or much practice on a lot of these maps. They're kind of like playing off the cuff or trying out new strategies, trying out new builds, trying out new ways to approach some of these maps, because there are some crazy maps with improv. 100%, mate. We got healing pads, we got slows, we got destructible slow zones, we got pocket bases, we got destructible towers. Like, there's so much involved in all of these newer maps. So it's, I'm sure, at times a little bit daunting for the players as well, like trying to get involved. Gotta have a big brain to play this out. Yeah. That leads us into Group C. Group C, we have Mana, Kior, Fiant, and Skillus. And Mana pops off, winning the first series 2-0.
Indeed. Not just winning the first series. Winning the first series against Skillus 2-0. Yeah. Skillus, who, as we've just went through, had a very impressive OSC run. And has overall been doing pretty well this week. this is a big result for Mana.
100%. So big win there. I mean, we've been seeing the praises of Mana over the past couple of months just because he's been getting some crazy good results recently. But this continues that trend that he is still getting some really good results. You know, he's one of the older players in the scene, older players in the region, but still can take it to the best of them. So
Yeah,
really well done there by Mana. God damn it, yeah.
So again, whenever you bring up Mana and being an old school player, my mind always goes back to that meme Rainer made, where Mana was like tweeting out something like, "Hey, does anybody have footage of that time I won 2012, the 2012 DreamHack so and so?" And Rainer making that meme where it's Mana in the wheelchair, and the granddaughter being like, "Okay, Mana, let's get you to bed."
God damn it. Feels bad.
That
Feels bad.
I feel like nowadays, if we were to use that template, the grandchild should be Clem.
True.
Okay, good. Well, let's get you to bed.
Feels bad, man. Feels bad. But yeah, Mana still got it. And I don't think we went over the groups actually last time because I don't think we had seen the invites. So this gives us an opportunity.
We didn't have all the invites. We had some, but not all of them.
Oh, yeah. True. So coming into Group C, I mean, we're partly way through. What are you feeling here? Do you believe that Nikita can bring it back? You know, he did lose the first series, but it's only the first series. It's round robin. You know, comebacks are possible.
Or ordinarily I would, except he lost to Mana. So I feel like Mana's pretty locked in at this point, and I don't want two Protoss players to make it out. I don't like the idea of that. So gonna go with Mana and Cure.
Okay. I understand.
No, I think Cure, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I believe in Nikita. Okay, I believe in Nikita. I believe he's gonna 2-0 Cure. All right, he's gonna 2-0 Cure.
Right. I can see that.
He's gonna take down Fiant. Skills is gonna have a massive comeback. And it's gonna be double Protoss. It's gonna be Skills and Mana. They're gonna walk out hand in hand.
Ooh, I can't bring myself to to predict double Protoss making it out. So okay, all right.
No. Fair enough. That leads us into Group D. Bunny, Lambo, Hero, Nickrak. Yo, this is a stacked group. Jesus. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Who you feeling in Group D?
I gotta be honest, I just like Bunny. So I'm feeling Bunny.
Okay, Bunny. Are you feeling the CJ boys? Are you feeling the Rambo? Are you feeling the Nico?
I think the CJ boys is the logical pick based off of what I just said. I just want Bunny to make it through. So based on what I just said, I think Hero will be the next point. But I'm feeling the Rambo lately. I know he just put out a video where he's said that he's gonna take a step back, but that's why I'm feeling it more.
I'd like to believe that Lambo, he's the kind of player that once his groups were revealed like a couple of days ago, that he would be like seriously looking into the maps. And I think he's a smart enough player to come up with some unique stuff on some of these maps as well. So I think it's also important that he only has to focus on 2 matchups, ZVT and ZVP. And I believe he can cook. All right, let him cook, Papi. Let him cook. And I want to believe that he can come out swinging here.
All right, you sold me.
All right, so who are you going for?
Bunny and Lambo.
Okay. Bunny and Lambo. Okay. I'm going to say I'm going to go Hero and Lambo.
All right.
For me. I'm a big Bunny fan. I don't think Hero is going to put any thought into these maps. So I could just see him cheesing and proxying and just aping.
He's not going to put any thought into it, so all the other players are like, okay, new map. We're gonna look at the proxy locations. We're gonna really think, okay, what is the most efficient way to do this build? And Hero's just gonna halfway across the map, 2 gateways, and then he's done. And he's right on their face. That has happened way too often for Hero. I feel like it's a pattern at this point. He's gonna whip that out way more times than we would expect him to. And it's gonna work way more times than we would expect it to. Oh,
Hold on, you were dying for me a little bit. Can you go back into that? Can you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Hero, he's gonna double gateway halfway across the map, way more than we would expect him to, and it's gonna work way more than we would expect him to. Than we
Oh
would
yeah,
expect him
100%.
to.
I was gonna latch onto what you were saying and be like, what's gonna happen is that you have your Lambo, you have your Nickrat, you have your Bunny. They're gonna be checking the close by proxy locations. Hero, he's gonna proxy inefficiently because he doesn't know where the proxy locations are. He's gonna, he's gonna proxy like in the middle of the map in like a main attack path. He's not even gonna know it's there, and somehow, some way, his opponent, they're not gonna see it, they're not gonna scatter it, and he's gonna pop off. So
He
I
doesn't
feel like
even
you have
realize it's the attack path, yeah.
yeah, exactly. He doesn't know that's like the regular scatting path. He just throws it down and he just pulls it off anyway. I can see like Hero and Limber being the polar opposites in this group and both finding success despite that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see.
The
Again,
yin and
check
the
out.
yang. Okay, you sold me now. It's gonna be Hero and Lambo. I just want to see more Bunny. Is where I'm at.
I do as well. I do. I want to see more Bunny as well. I agree. I agree. Yeah, do recommend checking out the groups. Again, Group C is being played currently over on Wardy's channel, and Group D is going to be played out tomorrow over on Wardy's channel as well.
Yeah. And then, of course, you're going to have the playoffs. That's going to be played out 2 days from now, also on Wardy's channel.
Ooh. Yeah, it's all quite congested here. So by the next time we have our PondCast, we're going to be able to catch up with the results and with the champion of the TLMC. So
yeah, we're
we'll be
going to be able to declare Zound the winner. Yeah.
True. As a reminder as well, once the TLMC wraps up, and we'll most likely be talking about it next week, that is when the voting opens. That's when voting phase for the Team Liquid map contest does open up, and then we can start to dive into our picks and dive into what we believe are going to be the best suited maps for our ladder in the next season.
Exactly. Steam City, first off.
at least Steam City, 100%, 100% for certain. So there's a lot to go over, a lot to get into. Also, I should emphasize this as well. I believe Pig is going to be hosting his own impromptu Team Liquid map contest event this weekend as well. It is just going to be an open cup, basically, like an open sign-up open cup for some Team Liquid maps. So you can also see some of these maps there as well.
Yeah. See it from more of a, from a, and because it's an open cup, obviously, that does mean that you yourself are going to be able to play on these maps, and you're going to get a better idea of what you would prefer to have on the ladder.
100%. So, yeah, that's going to be the plan moving forward here.
You're going to make us all sign up for it, aren't you?
I'm tempted when it comes to our events. I think it's a little bit too late if we've already posted signups for STC. I think it might be too late, but I think there's value in, at least for the next Turtle Tussle, to have our events purely use Team Liquid maps. I know that makes them ineligible for OSC points, but I think it's worth it just so we can get as much experience as possible on these maps before voting concludes, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, at least, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I agree.
Yes, this is as much as we can, but we'll see what our conclusion is. Regardless, best of luck to all these players, and again, I look forward to seeing all these new maps coming into play and how our players do approach these maps as well. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I can't wait to see the new proxy locations on these maps.
For sure. I'm sure there's a lot of abusable terrain on the maps as well, I'm sure. But with that, that is going to wrap up our events for the week. If you want to sign up yourself to these open cups or even the pig event that we mentioned, we do have the sign-up list, ! Sign-ups in the chat, and you get a link to the list. We have SDO Duckling Open is on the horizon. We have 2v2
My sleep
Evo
schedule is actually aligned this time.
There you go, Yaku. He can play this time. In a couple of days, we have the thermal 2v2 circuits for the monthly, I should say. So plenty of events on the horizon, plenty of content coming up.
Oh, yeah. And of course, wait. Okay, no, I'm mistaken. It's 2 weeks from now. I thought it was next week, but yeah, in the week after next, we are going to have our first of the Bellum's Gens Elite 2025 qualifiers. So stay tuned for that. It's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, the qualifiers are right around the corner, so make sure you tune in to those events to make sure you find out who's going to be a part of that big, major offline event. It's going to be amazing, going to be beautiful. Do check it out. Otherwise, I believe we are going to be wrapping up here. Again, check out our Patreon, exclamation mark Patreon in the chat.
Yes.
You get a link to our Patreon page where you can help fund us, you can help support our tournaments. As we have recently hit our new goal, we do have we hit a large enough goal here where now we can pay out top 4 in Sparkling Tunic Cup.
Indeed, we do. We hit that 420. You'll love to see it. Well, our goal is actually 400, but I believe right now we're at 420, so yeah, we love to see it. We're blazing our way through all these, and yeah, I'm sure we're going to be able to blaze the payouts or blaze the prize pools as well, and it's all thanks to you, the fans.
Exactly.
Sign up right, and sign up right now for Patreon, and you can suggest what the next stretch goal should be.
Hey. I mean, we already have it, but true.
Yeah.
I believe our next stretch goal should be
After that. I mean.
Yeah. Our next stretch goal should be to boost the prize pool of SDO and MSO, Duckling Open and Master Swan Open. That is to, of course, allow us to actually have them on the main space for Wikipedia.
Correction. If we continue to, like, if the 420 remains until the end of the month, we will actually already boost SDO and MSO. Like, they already did the next
there
goal.
We go. All right, there we go.
Let's go. Yeah.
Let's go.
Which means we have no idea what comes next.
So exactly. So you know what? If you sign up right now for Patreon,
no. The next one is already set up. The next one is already set up.
Okay.
Already. Never mind.
Okay.
But
the one after that.
Regardless, thank you so much for all the support from our patrons, from our subscribers on Twitch, from our members on YouTube, regardless of where you are following us and watching us as well. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Our next broadcast is going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to be covering the FSL 2v1 several show match. The Family Star League, they're coming together to bring you some fun 2v1 show match events. First one is with Several.
Indeed. Oh man, this one, I don't want to say it was a long time coming, but this was one that I think was anticipated for a very long time since they announced that they wanted to do these 2v1s.
Oh yeah, exactly. And they plan on making this a more regular event, inviting more players here to get into the gauntlet against the League of Diamond players that they have. So to look forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm Diamond.
You got to be a part of the family, part of the FSL. But sure,
I am already part of KJ's family. What are you talking about?
True. Okay. Fair enough. We'll marry someone off to Ender, and then someone else can join.
Exactly. It looks similar.
Beautiful. God. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for tuning in. Yaku. There's nothing there, Yaku. There's nothing there. You should ask Ender about that. He'll let you know his secret. He'll let you know. But with that, Yaku, let the people know, where can we find you and Brutal stream soon, TM? Soon?
We'll see about that, potentially. I actually got some news literally just today that I forgot to tell you about. I was supposed to tell you about it in the pre-show, but I forgot to tell you about. So, yeah, we'll see. If I do end up ever having that stream, and I do intend to at least finish the StarCraft 1 vanilla campaign, so that means the Protoss campaign, will be over on twitch.tv/YakuZaku1. I'll look into also streaming that on YouTube. I'm not used to streaming on YouTube or using YouTube at all, but yeah, stay tuned to twitch.tv/YakuZaku1, twitter.com@EmphoraYakuZaku, but I'm trying not to use that as often as Blue Sky Yakuzaku. So you can find me, also exclamation Discord in the chat. So you can find me, so you can find Light, so you can find Kuro, and most importantly, it's where you can find the bot that announces when one of us goes live. So if I forget to make a tweet, or skeet, if you will, the bot's going to have you covered.
There you go. So do check Yaku out there. You can follow me, light_VIP on Twitch and Twitter, !light in the chat. And you'll get a link to our socials as I have been streaming as of late. I've actually had some time since we've had a leaner schedule in March. I've had some time to ladder. So I do plan on laddering tomorrow as well after FSL. Likewise, we've been having our regular weekly Final Fantasy streams. So if you want to tune into some things outside of just our casting of StarCraft, then check us out over on my personal channel. Otherwise, you can follow us on the CranKy Ducklings. CranKy Ducklings on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Mastodon, on TikTok, Facebook, Kick, YouTube, all things CranKy Ducklings. Do check us out. We do post when we go live. We have content on a daily basis.
Yeah, AOL, Google Plus,
Skype.
Skype.
Never mind. Never mind.
TeamSpeak.
Otherwise,
what else is out there?
Ventrilo, Curse. What's the other one? Mumble.
Threads, Mumble, WhatsApp, WeChat.
Kakao, true.
Kakao.
Line.
Naver, Line. Hi-Fi.
Bebo. And MySpace.
Yeah, can't believe I forgot MySpace.
Anyway, with that, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Shout out to Kuro, of course, for handling the production here tonight, for allowing you all to experience the podcast in all its glory. And we'll see you tomorrow for some more StarCraft action.
See you then.
Ciao.
Bella.